Welcome to Aggie Talk. I'm your host, Patrick Figueroa. I got two guys joining me. I got
Got Omar Navarro right here, back. Got the Lakers jersey on. You already know. I'm not gonna shy away, guys. I'm not gonna shy away, but it should be a rough one. But I'm prepared. I'm ready. I'm ready.
And Michael Quell, who is very happy that the Lakers lost. So
I bet you are, Michael. You won that bet too. So yeah, some double satisfaction there.
yeah, it was great. It was a great day for me.
Before we get it,
we'll
go ahead,
to it.
Omar.
I said we'll get to it.
All right. So before we get into our NBA recap, we want to start with the NFL world. An absolute bomb dropping by Ian Rappaport, reporting that Julio Jones was traded to the Tennessee Titans for a second round pick. And what was the other pick?
Fourth.
The second and fourth just flat.
And
Yeah.
I think the Titans got back a 6, if I'm not wrong, right? Yeah,
okay, so either way, Julio Jones, the lifelong Falcon, is now a Titan with teaming up with AJ Brown, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, and Mike Vrabel. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
If that's all it took, I don't know why more teams didn't jump on that. From what I saw, it was no one even offered a straight first round pick for him. It was like a first round pick swap was the best anybody offered. So it's just kind of mind blowing. I know he's 32 now, but he's a proven elite receiver in this league who does everything, including blocking, and for a second round pick, you're not usually going to get second round pick receivers who are going to do what Julio Jones can do even at this late stage in his career.
We got Josh joining us. We're just talking about the Julio Jones trade. Josh, if you want to hop in and give your thoughts on that.
I have nothing to say about that because we play the Titans twice a year. So
yeah, that's the AFC South is probably just like so mad right now. But
yeah, dude, like we're already probably about to lose to Sean, and now we have to deal with Julio roasting all of our safeties. Like, come on.
Don't forget AJ Brown too.
I know, that's what I'm saying. So no, we have to play them twice a year. I'm totally good with that. Like, we went 4-12 last year. So this year we'll probably go 4-13.
I think
anything that can help you. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I think the floor is a little too generous, but that's just me. I don't know.
I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, with 4 without Deshaun, that's going to be a tough ask.
I mean, at least you'll get, Julio Jones does help your odds of getting the first round pick a little bit more.
I do appreciate that, but where do we even pick up somebody? Because our defense is like okay. And Deshaun, Will Fuller, and D-Hop were our entire offense. And we might not have Deshaun. We released Will Fuller, and D-Hop is about to ball out with J.J. Watt in Arizona. So I have no idea what is going on with the AFC South right now.
Yeah, I think in terms of the trade, I remember reading that no team was going to offer a first round pick. I think I sent it in the chat like a couple weeks ago, and I found that kind of surprising. But at the same time, looking at his contract, his age, maybe some injury history, plus the fact that he even asked for a trade. And, like every time someone asks for a trade, you kind of lose a little bit of that leverage.
I think it's age more than anything. 32 is not prime when you're in the NFL. So it's kind of past your prime. And they think that he's going to go downhill considering his numbers from the last couple of years. I think at least a second round pick, like he said, is probably the best you're going to get. Tennessee's just Tennessee stacked now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and if you're a team like Tennessee that, you're like a playoff team, but you like need that, extra, weapon or extra push to be that, that possibly contender. Maybe if you get a couple of things go your way, you have a favorable bracket, and then you go into the, you get to the championship game, and then, anything can happen in a one game thing. So I think a team like that, it was a perfect fit. And if you're the Titans now, you got to be excited. I was gonna bring this up, but is AJ Brown and Julio Jones the best wide receiver duo now in the NFL?
I would lean towards yes on that. I mean, I think there's a lot of really close ones. I think Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, they don't have that trio. Like, and I know that's what you're looking for, Omar. You want to hear your Cowboys get some respect. Again, if we're just talking about like best receiving core, no. But if you're talking about duo, I think they have a really good case because Julio and AJ are both physical freaks of nature that you just don't see that often. Like, I think another maybe honorable mention might be what the Bucks have with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but I think.
And that was what I was going to say. And then, I mean, if Antonio Brown like straightens up, then hands down, they are the best wide receivers in the entire league.
Yeah, so I think that they have a really good case, and again, like they're just such physical freaks that I don't think there's like I don't want to play Tennessee with that like that. Like you got to double really both of them, and they're both like they both complement each other really well. Like AJ Brown dominates in the short to intermediate game where he's just gonna catch a slant and take it 80 yards, while Julio's gonna like stretch the defense and could really take over the whole field. So it's a really scary, two wide receiver. It's a really scary duo.
And
Yeah, especially when you have to play the play action too, because it's so much Derrick Henry. You can't really play him straight up. You have to always be worried about that run.
And you can literally feed him the
physical
ball
freak.
all game, and he's picking up yards no matter what. So when you like their offensive side of the ball is damn near unbeatable.
yeah,
The defense just needs to stop people on third down.
Yeah.
yeah, as Pat mentioned, like that, I think they were historically one of the worst third down teams last year. But I mean, if you look at them on the offensive side now, like, okay, you can't maybe bring in the linebackers down to, stop the run. You can't bring the safeties down to like, maybe stop Derrick Henry. You can't do that anymore because now you have these threats of like, do I double AJ Brown? Do I double Julio? Like this is a crazy, like honestly, it's a really, I'm excited and I really hope Julio Jones stays healthy because it has the potential to be something really interesting. Like it's very rare that you see like these two like big like just as you mentioned, Pat, like athletic freak like receivers on one team. Like so I'm super excited. I'm really hope that Julio stays healthy in Tennessee because they have something interesting, and the AFC South I think has got a little more like interesting.
Would you say they're the favorites now, or do you still think or do you lean towards Indy maybe? Because I'm still like I'm kind of split. It's all really depending on what Carson Wentz does. Because I think if Carson Wentz performs good, I would take the Colts. But at the same time, I that offense might be like potentially like top 10, top 5 maybe in the league. So
I think they were my favorites. Regardless, I think I had them as favorites because the I think Carson Wentz is going to do good, but at the same time, I don't know. It's like a big wild card that like you don't know if Carson Wentz going to recover some of that confidence and form back. So I think in terms of like just uncertainty, they were still my favorites, and now they're just like surefire like favorites. But I'm still interested to see what Indy does because if Carson, like the thing is that like the physical traits of Carson Wentz has never been debated. That's never been something that's been like an issue. It's just health and decision making. So if getting him back with Frank Reich is the way to go, and it's like his recovery, then I mean I'm all for it. But I just think that man, that AFC South is interesting, and you add in the fact that you have the Jaguars, with Trevor Lawrence, that maybe they might not win a lot of games, but it's Trevor Lawrence, so it's still like maybe 1 week he can go off. You never know. So I don't know. I'm that AFC South is really for a division that was kind of like lackluster the last couple of years, like years ago. It's pretty interesting now.
Yeah, we
then
beefed up a little
even
bit.
better.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we beefed up a little bit, but this Julio Jones addition is definitely putting the Titans over that hump. So the AFC South is bringing the noise, and I won't even be mad if the Titans win it. They'll bring it back for us.
So I was gonna say, where do you? So we talked about, maybe are they the favorites in the AFC South? Where do you guys think that puts them in terms of favorites in the AFC? Like, what do you think? Like, do you think? Because like that's a debate that I'm kind of like on the fence about. I'm not too sure about. So like, where do they stand now in the AFC as a whole?
I'd probably put the Bill. I'd still probably put the Bills, the Chiefs. I'd probably put those two above them. I'm kind of liking the Chargers. I think the Chargers could be I maybe I'm taking a leap of faith there, but again, I think I'd rather have the Chargers than them, and the Ravens potentially. And are they above the Ravens and the Browns? I'm leaning towards yes, maybe, but I think there's some debate there. I think those are probably so around 5 or 6 maybe.
Yeah, they definitely took a step up, but so did a lot of those teams you just mentioned. I think a lot of those teams are going to be better this year. The Browns are going to be having OBJ back, which we'll see if that does anything for them. The Ravens added some weapons, so Lamar could finally throw to someone. I think it'll be interesting. I think 5 is a safe place to put them too.
I would say the same thing. Chiefs, Ravens. Yeah, probably 5. Best spot for them. They did make a big move with Julio Jones, but I don't know if it's enough to put them in the top 3 of the AFC.
For some reason, I'm not that high on the Ravens. I don't like. I thought last year I was pretty high on them, but their inability to just like. Hopefully they did draft that receiver. Really blanking on his name right now, but Pat, you're gonna know what was his name again?
Rashad Bateman.
Bateman. There we go. So that's Pat's guy right there. He was high on him. So hopefully he turns out for them. But I just think I don't know. I want to place them probably on par with the Browns. I want to say. I think I'd put them on par with the Browns. But again, that defense, lost to Dory Jackson and things like that. So we'll have to see. But I'm leaning more towards like they're on that Browns level of maybe if they get a favorable matchup, I think they can do something.
Yeah, so it's gonna be really an interesting race. Don't sleep on the Steelers either. I know it's gonna get me some slander, but do you guys want to move on to baseball? Get some talk about that. We're, I believe, a third through the season.
I just want to say one thing before we hop to baseball. I mean, the Steelers are good, but what is Ben Roethlisberger going to do?
I've been waiting to answer this for a while, Josh. So I'm glad you asked it. Personally, I didn't like the Najee Harris pick. I love the player. I'm always going to stand by the player. He's my favorite running back to watch in this club. I mean, maybe not my favorite, but I thought he was the best one. My favorite was Javonte Williams, but that's for another day. But I thought he was the best. I still think that I just love I love it when a running back can create their own yardage, and that's what he did so consistently. So I just think with what they've done with a guy like, just investing into trying to bring back a running game and balance out our offense. Because if you watch the Steelers last year, they had no running game. Like it was like we were like 31st in the NFL. Like it was not good. So I think it was just some investment. We're gonna be able to balance out the offense, and the news is that they're changing up the offense with the new offensive coordinator. Randy Fichtner just didn't adjust at all. So I think, he just wouldn't change up the passing game. It was always the same thing. The way it was week 1 was the same way it was week 12, which when you have a quarterback that's like, whose arm is falling off, you can't just keep doing that. So I think they're going to be better in terms of being more balanced, but at the same time, I think people are right to have concerns for a 39-year-old quarterback who's coming off who just looked washed at the end of last season.
Didn't he say he wanted a trade?
No, I don't think so. He wanted
I thought he said that he wasn't quite there, but if something didn't change, he wanted to move.
I have no idea. I don't think so, Josh, but maybe I missed that, but I really doubt it. I think he wanted to stay, but I don't know. I think it was
I
more
could
so
be
that the
very wrong.
Steelers
My
weren't
bad.
like sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know
exactly.
about that
I
one,
think
but
it was one party. It was either him or it was the Steelers who were like, we don't know if we want to go forward with him because he is past that
I think it was.
football prime.
yeah, they did.
I think it was a party that was paying the other party $40 million a year. So
Right? So it's probably the Steelers.
one last thing I wanted to add. Very disappointed in the Baltimore Ravens. If Julio Jones was worth a second round pick, I would have been all over that because no one wants to go to Baltimore. And if you're like, if no one wants to go to Baltimore, and you mentioned that he's a good blocker, Pat. So like, why not go after him if you're really banking on Hollywood Brown and Rashad Bateman, who are like really good receivers. I just don't know if they're the receivers that put you over the top and get you over that, maybe being a contender. So I just wanted to add that, like, I'm super bummed because I don't know. I really like the Ravens. I like Lamar Jackson. So I was really bummed that they didn't make a move for Julio.
I think Rashad Bateman can become that. It's just I don't know about year one because there's always like a transition, going to be a big transition. So it's definitely a valid concern, Omar. I mean, again, but outside of that, maybe though, because last year was the first year where really rookie receivers kind of took off like immediately. A lot of times it takes some time for them. So maybe the NFL might have it figured out, but at the same time, it's Greg Roman, so we don't know with him. So I guess we'll move on to baseball. I see you got Ohtani as your background, Michael. Any words on your Angels?
It's the only positive thing. I've been saying that all year. I think we have. I don't think we've been swept at any point without Trout, so that's the only good bright side. I think look at the standings. We are 7 games back from the A's, so yay. I think Jared. I mean, right now the Jared Walsh is like one of the few bright spots for the year, just like his like emergence as probably the second best hitter on the team. Yeah, it's really great to be an Angels fan once again.
This is very off topic, but I just saw Blake Griffin dunk over Giannis, and I'm just like, what is going on? And
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I know. I was just so like shocked to see like that. It just took me out. It just caught me really off guard. So sorry to just like barge in, but what the heck, man? What's going on there? Anyways, yeah, I think that going back to the MLB, Michael, I think the Angels should do him a favor and trade him to the other team, probably like half an hour away, I want to say. Maybe. I think that'd be fair, right?
I don't think you guys need any more pitchers.
I think we need health, and we need pitchers, and the more we can have, the better. So I don't know. I'd be good with that. But in terms of the MLB this year is kind of odd. I really thought the Bob's not here to talk about it, but I thought the Giants would have fallen off by now. But they're still going pretty strong. So
best record in the league.
Yeah, they're looking pretty good. So I don't know. Honestly thought like June would be the month, like by June, like they'd be like third, fourth in the division. Well, not fourth because the bottom, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks are terrible. They're terrible. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's interesting. There's a lot of there's a lot of like teams that are in it, and then there's a lot of like really bad teams. In especially in the NL. So I don't know. I'm interested to see that. But the Dodgers are finally starting to get healthy. They go on these streaks where, they win like 5 and then they lose 4 in a row. And it's just like, it's frustrating, but I think they're starting to get their rhythm a little bit. And I'm just hoping they really get healthy a lot. Yeah, I just want to say that the Braves are pretty disappointing for me because I had high hopes for them.
They've been really inconsistent this year. Like they're like what you just said with the Dodgers. Like they might have, except like in lower like spurts, like they win 3 in a row, then they drop like 4 in a row. It's really weird. I mean, and they have like some really good players like Ronald Acuna and Freddie Freeman and Austin. Is that his name? Austin Riley, I think. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm confusing with someone else. Like that are all playing well, but then their pitching just isn't that good, so they just can't get any consistency. As for the Giants, like I don't think they're going to be falling off too soon. From what I've heard, their next 4 series are actually not that hard, so they could finish off June pretty strong theoretically. So the NL West is pretty interesting to look at right now. I wouldn't have expected those 3 teams to be competing. I kind of just expected 2.
As
The Padres for me were that big shocker, and I think only 2 games back from the Giants. This next series, you're right. The Giants are probably going to have a nice stretch. I think they play like the Phillies, the Diamondbacks, a couple of teams who haven't been doing too well. Yeah, exactly. So a couple of teams who haven't been doing so well. But I just gotta say, still, as always, shout out to my Yankees. But like after the last time I was on here, I know we slid from like second all the way down to 4th in the East. So I'm like, all right, but it's always love for the Yankees.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as our resident Yankee fan here, Josh, is it time to put Aaron Boone on the hot seat? I don't know. I've seen a lot of that chatter.
I wouldn't say it's time, but I think our next series is the Phillies. Well, we have the Twins, and then we have the Phillies and the Blue Jays, and then so I think if we get past the Twins and we're still like losing games, I feel like it's time to actually put him on the hot seat, and we need to figure out a new game plan.
So
I would have never thought that the Oakland A's would have a better record than us.
Yeah,
ever.
Well, I mean, Tampa Bay. I
know, that's what I'm saying.
Time, I'm a big believer in Tampa Bay, and I love what they're doing with no money. They just keep finding ways to put together pretty decent teams. And I mean, yeah, for the Yankees, they still got to get through both the Rays and the Red Sox, who somehow both those. Red Sox is a big surprise to me. I didn't think they were going to bounce back that well this year.
I don't see us beating the Red Sox the way we've been playing lately. And you're right, we still have to go through them again. So it's going to be an interesting run towards the middle of the season, but I think we'll still make series. We're working on building up to that run of the series. Like the Lakers, end of the season, you start to try to get that little run, and the Yankees are working up to it.
I saw the John Boy tweet though that said any team that gets swept by the Lions, not the Lions, the Detroit Tigers won't make the playoffs, and they got swept by the Tigers.
Yeah, I don't feel like that's a fact, but I feel like if any team could like break that, it would be the Yankees.
I don't know, dude. The Tigers are so bad.
They're pretty bad. They're pretty
I think it's
bad.
John Boy was just saying it as like a joke, because I listened to that podcast when he said it. It was like the reason why he gave up on the Mariners and the Royals, because they both got swept by the Tigers, and then him being a Yankees fan, like they just started making fun of him because it happened to his team. So it's honestly a really funny situation. Just they have been kind of sliding. The fact they got swept by the Red Sox this weekend.
Yeah, that was
their big
rough.
one. Yeah.
That was rough, and it wasn't even like a close game. Like none of their games were close.
With as much money as the Yankees have, it's inexcusable for them to be third. What are they right now? Yeah, fourth.
I agree.
That's inexcusable.
I agree.
You're losing to teams like you're below Toronto, who I think you're definitely better than Toronto, but to be underperforming that much, yeah, it's pretty unacceptable.
They gotta do something. But I would say that Aaron Boone's seat is getting warm. If they don't make the playoffs, I think New York might have some questions. I definitely
it might be time to let him go.
I don't know. I just found this stat kind of interesting. The top 3 guys in home runs right now: Ronald Acuna, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and Fernando Tatis Jr. They're all like 22, I think, or one of them's like 23. So, I mean, I just think that's really cool for the game of baseball. Like just the young guys taking over this early in their careers. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, they're all really fun to watch.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're really fun to watch.
I
Go
think
ahead, Michael. My bad.
No, that was it. That's all I wanted to say. You're good.
I think they're not only that, but like they have like that that extra like what you like to watch from baseball. You don't want to what gets all the people mad of like the bat flips and the all this other stuff that gets super fun to watch and is great for the game of baseball. And I love that they're they're up there. But I will say every time I hear Ronald Acuna's name, I get mad at the fact that he signed that contract because I said it at the time and I'm going to say it again. It was a terrible deal, and whoever his agent is, I hope he fires him because, man, that's a terrible contract. Like I don't know, I just don't get it.
What was the contract?
He signed it. I want to say his like second full year. It was 8 years, $80 million, and that's
Yeah, fire that guy. Get him out of here now. They like is that open for renegotiation? Do they do that in baseball?
No.
Also, how much of that is like it's all guaranteed, right?
Yeah, like every baseball contract is guaranteed, but the thing is that when you look
So
at
he's a franchise player basically.
yeah,
But he's not getting franchise player money.
Yeah, when you look at Tatis, he got what, like 300 something, right? Like
300 something, yeah.
Yeah. But when you're a second year, you can't ask for 300 mil.
Well, that's why you wait through like your arbitration periods and everything, and then you ask for that money.
That's what
I feel like he might have taken it just because it was the best deal he could get at the time because he wanted to be on that team. If he's playing so well right now, the team would like build around him. And if they put pieces around him, who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
And in 8 years, that's a lot of time to put pieces together.
A lot more pitching.
Like hypothetically, if he continues like the trajectory that I think he's on, he's going to have another chance to get another big deal when he's like 29, 30. But still, like if he would have waited, he could have gotten at least 200 million. Like at the very least, 200.
Well, I think if it pans out, and you're right, because most guys get that big deal when they're like 29. So it might work out in his favor. Tatis just got really lucky that not lucky. He was just very fortunate that everything worked out and he got it at 20, whatever he got it at,
Yeah, who knows? Maybe when he hits like 30-ish, the Angels might come with a huge deal.
Oh yeah.
Because I
still no pitchers, but we'll have three of the best hitters in baseball.
I was gonna say all you need is hitters.
Yeah.
That's the Angels
clearly
signing 30-plus-year-old huge deals. That's their specialty.
Hey, Rendon isn't 30 yet. Okay, I think he's like 29. We had time.
Close enough.
So unless you guys have anything else you want to talk about baseball real quick, we could move on to our NBA recap of the first round.
One last thing, Dodgers will repeat. Just saying that. Whatever. All right, let's go. Let's move on.
Gotta get that on air.
Gotta get that on air.
All right. So do you guys want to start with the East or the West?
You start with the East. I think we can start with the East.
Yeah, get it out of the way.
So the 1 versus 8. That was the Bucks and that was the Sixers, right? Sixers and
Wizards. Sixers and Wizards.
That was done in 5. So
yeah, it should have been done in 4 if Embiid wasn't hurt, probably.
Yeah, same thing. I agree with that.
I think the biggest thing to come out of that series was just the fact that Embiid just can't stay healthy. Like I don't know. Like
that is really interesting for you to say, considering the Lakers are not playing because Anthony Davis can't stay healthy.
No,
so it's really interesting to hear you say that.
Okay, Anthony Davis.
Well, I mean, AD was healthy for the last year.
That's what I was gonna say. Embiid
and they won. Like
Embiid has not gone through one playoffs where he hasn't been hurt, where he hasn't missed a game. Like he's just like that. And then the years that he plays every game, they're bounced in the first round. So like they can't like when I heard slightly torn meniscus and I heard day to day, I was like, that's not something that goes together, right? Like you got to be like in some kind of pain, right? Like
you at least got to take a week off.
Yeah.
I mean, he looked fine this last game. I think the bigger thing for me is that one game where he was out, exposed, and then to a lesser extent, the first game is like how much he carries that team. because that team without him is pretty bad.
Which is
Like-
weird because like Ben Simmons should be able to like step up in those situations. Like they're both first round picks.
No.
Like I know, but it's why? What is the problem with Ben Simmons that he can't bring himself to that level that Joel has brought himself to?
He's so
numerous
limited
times.
on offense that he just can't create for himself. And
So
like,
the
the rest
shot-
of his team just isn't good enough.
So getting that 3-point open is like his best move.
It's always been his best move to just diversify his offense so that he can actually do other things. Because he's good at what he does now when Embiid is there. It's when Embiid's not there, he just gets exposed.
Yeah.
I think Tobias Harris also needs to like step up, and Tobias Harris will give you one game where he will just be great, and then the next game he'll score like 5 points. So when you don't have chemistry offensively, it's hard to bring your team to that next level. Even though they made second round, I still think Atlanta will probably knock them off.
Ooh.
Because Atlanta is looking like no, I know, hot take, but Atlanta is looking like a playoff team, even though they are so young.
Glad
Yeah.
you brought up
Yeah.
Tobias Harris, because I was really curious. How did he perform in this series?
In this series, I think he had one of those games and let me double check that. But
I was gonna say, I think he had one big game
Yeah,
where
I
he
think he
scored
was
like 20
okay.
plus, and
Yeah.
then the rest of the series, he was a ghost.
I mean,
'Cause
okay, his first
he was decent this year. I kind of assumed that he would maybe actually show up in the playoffs this time around, but from what I'm hearing,
So he
against
was the
Wizards
series
too.
leader for the Sixers with 25, 10, and 3. So he was playing enough, but without Joel there, it's like it should have been finished in 4, hands down. But Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal they're scrappers, so they're gonna fight you tooth and nail to get to that next round. They fell a little short because I think they just don't have that chemistry that you build up throughout the entire season. And Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons have been playing together for easily the last 2 years.
I think going to completely tangent, I think what was their center Gafford, whatever his name was, he was a bright spot in this series. I
He
thought
stepped
looked
up
good.
pretty well.
Yeah, he looked good. Wizard, but it won't be enough. The Wizards are still gonna be irrelevant for years to come.
Even with Mr. Triple Double.
Yeah. Well, I saw today there was talks that the Lakers were interested.
Oh my God.
So we'll see where he ends up.
I think we're interested in his running mate right there, but I'll keep that for when we talk about the Lakers. I'm just gonna say that I just think the Wizards, it wasn't really. I think it was just that they don't have talent. I mean, when you have literally Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, and Raul Neto out there at the same time, like, what do you really expect?
Ish Smith.
Yeah,
I was about to say Ish Smith.
Hey man,
Ish Smith has made so much money off just being fast. He can't do anything else.
Ish Smith, he's balling, man.
He was getting to the rim.
Yeah, if people know that he's going to the rim and he still gets to the rim, so respect to that. He's still collecting paychecks. Got nothing to respect for that. But I'm saying is like, if you can't expect, to. I knew that it was bound for them to get one game. I didn't think that Embiid would get hurt for them to get that one game. But I thought when you have Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook, you're bound to get. I mean, look at the Celtics series. We'll get to it eventually, but the Celtics series, if you have those players, they're bound to go off for one game. It happens, right? But yeah, I think the Sixers, man, they're an interesting team. The Hack of Simmons thing is definitely something that I thought that has reared its ugly head, and man, it could get really ugly. I'll say that it could get really ugly to the point where you might have to bench him down the stretch, even though Doc Rivers said he won't. But you kind of have to think about it, maybe.
Definitely, it definitely tells you something about the Sixers, and the Wizards are probably gonna stay irrelevant. Our next series, unless you guys want to say something about that, we're gonna move on to the next one. The Celtics.
I just want to say, before we move on to Celtics and the Nets, Washington has the ability to build a team. They have cap space. They have the ability to do so, even if they move Westbrook. So I won't say that they're going to be completely irrelevant. Let's see where they land in the draft lottery and go from there.
They definitely have the ability, but their hesitancy to move on from Scott Brooks, which should tell you
Is
everything
rough.
about that
Yeah.
organization.
And I think that's what the first step is. Scott Brooks got to go. I think that's the first step. And then from there, you can build whatever dynasty you want, even if it's just making the playoffs for 4 or 5 straight years. That's better than what they have been.
The fact that it's a question for them to even get rid of him, though, after like watching him coach, that's the same thing with the Kings. Like, why is this still a question?
And Luke's still coming back.
Yeah. So the fact that's what I mean. Don't hold your breath. I mean, hold your breath because they could definitely keep him around.
So Sacramento East, that's what the Wizards are.
Sacramento East, yeah.
It's like I think I said it. What did I say with you guys? I think it was like whenever Scott Brooks gets his pension, he should send it to the Westbrook household.
Oh yeah.
Because he's like Westbrook has kept that man's job for I don't know how long. Like he's not a good coach. Like this could have been like maybe a close games could have been a bit closer, but man, his like I don't know, he's just not like his rotations and everything were just terrible, especially down the stretch of those games. Like that game against the Celtics, he was set on playing Alex Len when it was clear that Gafford was the clear superior player, and he still wanted to play Alex Len for some reason. So I don't know. They should definitely move on, but it's the Wizards, and teams that stay around the middle are always around the middle for one reason, and I think he'll stay.
All right.
Bradley Beal, Lakers.
I guess we'll move on to the next series, the Celtics and the Nets. The Nets win in 5. Omar, you can now cue the Jason Tatum Photoshop if you'd like. As I guess we could talk about that. I mean, Jason Tatum, he kept them from getting swept. Had a great game 4, right? Just dropped how much was it? Did he go for 50?
It was 50, yeah, I think.
That is correct.
Oh my goodness. So definitely, and I thought he also had a pretty good game 5 last time I checked, but it's just like the Celtics kind of just got unlucky with the whole Jaylen Brown getting hurt thing, and maybe it could have been more competitive, or do you guys still think it would have been in 5?
I'll say it could have gone 6, but I'm still thinking Brooklyn pulls it out just because the way they've been so dominant in this postseason with James Harden and without James Harden, like even currently, they're up 24 points. So I mean, I think he would have helped probably take them to that game 6, but I can't see them winning the series, even with him on the floor.
Yeah, I think the problems extended further than just not having Jaylen Brown there. I think when Kemba is just a no-show all year, that's a huge issue. He's supposed to be your 3rd best scorer.
What is up with him this year, though?
I don't know what happened to that man. And then you got to rely on Evan Fournier. Like, oh God,
right? Like you're in trouble.
You're in trouble.
Couple that in with the fact their bench is terrible, and they have no one off the bench. I think the Celtics, I don't want to say they missed their window because obviously they.
No, I'll say it. I think they missed their window.
Yeah. I just think that the fact that they have Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, you have 2 young wings, you'll have a chance. But I think in terms of compared to how the East is looking, they missed their window of going all in for a superstar, trading for one and winning the East, because I think that year against the Raptors, when the Raptors won it, all those years, there was one of those years where they could have won it, or they could have at least got to the finals. But I think with looking at how Brooklyn is, looking at how Milwaukee is, even I don't know, I'd still probably take the Heat over them as much as that is. I don't know, they kind of, like I said, I don't want to say they missed their window, but they're getting close to missing their window, especially with the whole. So I think they need to make a move, and my biggest thing for them is trade Marcus Smart, and I think they're gonna have to this summer.
Yeah, I think they did miss their window. I think last year was their best shot. They had as much weapons as they've ever had. Danny Ainge has basically just thrown away that draft capital he's had.
I
It's
won't say that they've missed their window, but I think it's definitely closing rapidly. In the way Omar said it, is like, yeah, they missed their chance to get that big name that could take them to that next level. And I get it. You want to bet on your young guys. You put a lot of faith in them. They've proven that they can run this team in certain spots. But I think last year would have been their best chance. And next year, after this offseason with everyone getting healthy, we'll see what happens.
like I think they'll still be a solid team. I just don't think they're a contender. I think they got solid pieces around them, but just not enough.
Yeah, it's like I said, like when you have two players like Jaylen Brown, hopefully stays healthy, and Jason Tatum too. Like when you have those players, like you'll always be around that like middle spot, especially in the East. Like you'll be around that 4 seed or so. But in terms of competing for a championship, I don't really know like how that could how that happens. So I don't. Yeah, I think like I said, I don't want to say it's close because they could still make some moves to maybe. Something that I've seen floated out there is maybe trying to swing a trade for Brogdon and Turner, Miles Turner, which I think would help them out so much. So that would be perfect for them. But just finding a way to maybe get rid of Kemba's contract, like even if you have to part ways with Smart, and you know how big Smart is for their defense and stuff, but I just don't see this core of Smart, Brown, and Tatum being that, you know, unless they take another leap, being that core that leads them to a championship.
Yeah, I don't know how many more leaps Tatum could take. I think he's already pretty amazing at what he 21 now. Like
Yeah, give him another year, and Boston not making it out of the first round, he's requesting a trade. He's going to want out of there. Stop it. He's not going to LA.
you know, he could have been a Laker. You guys picked Lonzo though.
I know y'all pick Lonzo.
He would have been a Pelican anyways. It doesn't matter. We would have traded him to New Orleans for AD. But I'm just saying, grew up a Lakers fan. He said he hated the Celtics. He always wanted to be a Laker. Loves Kobe. Seems like he loves playing at Staples Center. All I'm gonna say is 2025. That's all I'm gonna say. I'll keep it at that. 2025. You know, AD Tatum for the future. Just you know, just saying that. Just putting that out there.
Patrick, can we talk about the Bucks?
Oh, you want to? You just
Yeah,
talk
move
about
on,
do you
move
want to
on.
talk about
Yes,
their
let's move
last
on.
round, or do you want to talk about what they're doing right now?
Let's
we
talk
could-
about last round.
Let's talk about last
because-
round and then we'll come around back to that.
So,
Yeah, because it's two different Bucks I'm seeing.
Yeah,
So it was a, what was it? Did they sweep or was it 5?
it was a sweep.
They swept.
It was only sweep.
Okay.
Giannis
so
said,
they-
"Don't play with your food."
Okay, so they swept that. They swept the Heat. What were your thoughts on the West, boys?
That the Heat really overperformed last year and then messed up not trading Tyler Hero for James Harden.
I'll agree with that. I'm sorry, Hero is gone if I can get James Harden. Gone. Like, I'll release that man to free agency and take the cap hit if I have to.
All that stuff about the Heat's culture and how he fits it so well.
I mean, I get it. He's kind of like the bad boy down south. I get it, but I can't. I know, I'm sorry. James Harden is one of the best shooters in the history of basketball, and if you could give up a first year like rookie who performed well in the bubble up for James Harden, I'm taking it. And
At the height of his his trade stock too.
yeah, at peak, yo, like I'm taking that. I'm sorry. And that's the reason they got swept, because like Heat culture is a thing, but that front office really doesn't know what they want to do. They don't know what they want to do with Jimmy Butler. They don't know what they want to do with Tyler Hero. They don't know what they want to do with Goran Dragic. So I mean, I think a lot of what people saw last year in the bubble, because it was the bubble, was different than what they're experiencing this year, because this year you have to deal with that travel going back and forth. This year you can't just like sit around and hang out with the guys that are playing on the opposing team. You have to like study their tape. You can't be friends with these guys and then go on the court and try and compete against them. The bubble just made things a lot different.
And I think I think a lot of people underestimate the mental toll that the bubble took. I think when you look at the young guys, when you look at like a lot of the veterans, they had a bunch of their families, and they had a bunch, they had their families, their kids, their all this. Maybe they didn't like being in that bubble. Whereas if you're a young guy, I know like me personally, like I don't have any like, I don't have any like I don't have I mean, obviously I have like immediate family, but I don't have any kids or anything. So if you send me to the bubble, like I would have been there gladly, like I don't care if I don't ever leave, but which is
Yeah,
why,
you're at Disney World, dude.
exactly, like,
So-
yeah, like I don't care. Like if I'll be there for 3 months, like the whoever.
Not gonna lie, I probably would have snuck out for the wings.
No, but like what I'm saying is that like that's why I think we saw a lot of the younger players perform pretty well, because it's like, you don't you maybe you don't know any better for whatever reason. Like Tyler Hero was rookie year, Duncan Robinson's pretty young too, so they balled out. But I think the Heat also overplayed their hand, because if you have the opportunity to get James Harden, you go and get James Harden, because those players are not available in free agency often. They're not available for trade often, especially with the package that they got back for that. You're talking about a core of Harden, Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler, and you turn that down because you loved what you saw from Tyler Hero, and he fits the Heat culture. Like that's it. I said it at the time, and I say it now. Like they're gonna regret that for forever, because they could have been in the finals again this year.
If James Harden goes to the Heat, do you think he still stays injured as much as he did this season, like on and off the court?
No, because the reason I think a lot of the injuries he got in Brooklyn have been like soft, like 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 hamstrings and stuff like that. And I think with Brooklyn, they had a lot. They missed. KD missed a lot of games. Kyrie missed a lot of games. They forced. I mean, he was playing like 40 something minutes a night in the regular
Yeah,
season.
James
So
Harden literally carried Brooklyn to where they are now.
exactly. Like he kept them afloat. So I don't think he had to do the same thing if he was on the Heat, because they didn't have to play him 40 minutes. They could have played him 34, 35, and he would have been fine. So I don't think he stays as hurt, because honestly, Harden's been pretty durable throughout his career.
Till
I think
now,
there's that
yeah.
one stretch where he like played the entire year, and the only game he missed was like he got suspended one game or something like that.
I want to say that was like a double tech too. It
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
even
like a double tech.
Yeah,
And that was the year he won MVP playing like 40 minutes a game. So like
Yeah.
he can do that. It's just I think he's getting older, so maybe he can't anymore. But I would say that Harden trade would have made the NBA way more interesting this year, because this is gonna like foreshadow what we're gonna talk about later. But the Nets, what is going on?
I'm not.
I think we should come back to the Bucks, because Josh is right. The Bucks we saw in the first round is not what we're seeing right now.
no way, no way.
I think in terms of talking, I think the plan is to go through. Pat, correct me if I'm wrong. The plan is to go through the first round, and then we'll eventually look at the second round.
Yeah.
In terms of what I saw in the first round, I mean, the Bucks just looked good. Like Coach Bud was on point with his rotations, who was coming off the bench, his adjustments. Like they look great. Like they honestly, like they made me excited, because Chris Middleton looked on point. Like they were firing on all cylinders. So the PJ Tucker trade, I think, was great, because he seems to add that element of, if you want to go small, you could go small, and you don't have to put Brook out there. And he still has that corner three that he's like known for. So I don't know. I love what I saw from him in the first round. And on the Heat side, Jimmy Butler just, I'm not ready to say, the Heat, they're done and that's it, because at the same time they did deal with COVID a lot. Like they're like the whole year. Like I forgot how many people missed games with COVID and how many people missed games with injury, and they had the shortest off season as well. So I don't want to say, like, I'm not going to be too harsh on them, but I will be harsh on them of, you have to trade for Harden if that's opportunities available. That's the only thing I'll slam them for. But aside from that, like, given everything they had to go through this year, I'm not going to slam them too much.
I'll agree with that,
Yeah,
because if you have the
yeah.
opportunity to get a player that will actually make your team better, and you can give up someone who will make it better over the long run, then you do it now. You take that chance now, and hopefully you can get to another finals.
Agreed. So unless there's anything we want to cover here, we can move into our last series in the East between the Knicks and the Hawks, which the Hawks
I
1-5.
loved it. I loved it. I love Trae Young being the villain in MSG. I love it because Trae Young is one of those players where he doesn't need to talk. He'll just let his ball and do it for you. And that is why like when de Blasio is like, yo, you need to stop. The mayor is like, yo, you need to stop. Then there's a problem. Trae Young is a villain in MSG, and he's only just begun.
Miles pretty much ditched this podcast to not be here today because they played awful. The Knicks were horrible. Julius Randle is like, what happened? Entirely different person. The entire series. I'm not gonna take away from what the Hawks did because the Hawks were, in fact, just amazing. No one was missing on that team the entire series. They were all hitting from three. Capella looked dominant inside, but it was just like, what happened to the Knicks is more my thing. Like no one could score.
I think they could really use a point guard. I think, like we mentioned, this is kind of their weakness that we're looking at for this series. Like when Alfred Payton was your starter for most of the season, and who was else? Reggie Bullock. I know they had D-Rose, and D-Rose had some moments where he looked great, but I think like they could really benefit by bringing in someone new to the into their backcourt, and I think that could help them a ton. And I agree with you, Josh. Watching Trae Young really become the villain of MSG was a ton of fun. I mean, it's really funny just to troll New York sports fans, like
especially considering this was like their first playoffs in a long time. So Knicks fans were hyped. They were like, we're going to win it all. And Trae Young just came in and shut all of it down.
Yeah, no, Omar, you got to remove that background, bro.
I don't think Trae Young will ever be a Laker.
I love Trae Young, man. Like honestly, like I love Trae Young. I was a big fan of him coming out of college. I remember watching his terrible NCAA tournament game when I was in high school. I remember like I was watching it on a computer. But I just love Trae Young, man. And him, like you guys mentioned, him becoming the villain of that, like all I'm gonna say is I'm gonna need another series in the future, in the very near future. I'm gonna need another Knicks Hawks series. I'm gonna need that because I think it has the potential to be something really interesting. And the Hawks as a whole, like their team is solid. Bogdan has kind of really found his groove, and he looks legit. John Collins,
he's playing completely different than when he was playing for the Kings. Completely different.
I mean, come on, it's the Kings. Like, Luke Walton's your head coach, Like, what do you really expect?
You still come out and play no matter what team you played for. And Bogdan like reached another level on the.
Yeah, no, like John Collins is doing a lot of things aside from the offensive game because he's been really good on the rebounding thing too. In that series, he was really good in terms of rebounding. He's providing like a lot of different things. So I really like the Hawks. We'll get to it, but that second round series is really interesting because Trae Young. The thing about Trae Young is he gets to spots. That floater game is crazy. That floater game. If you have a good floater in the NBA, you can make a shot over anyone.
Tony Parker all day.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you have that floater going, like you can go under a screen, you can go over a screen. If he gets one step ahead of you, he's gonna get the floater, or he's gonna jump it off to whoever's under the basket, right? Like a cutter. So I mean, man, I like the Hawks, and that series, it kind of just exposed the Knicks' flaws. We knew they had offensive questions coming into it, but I mean, Derrick Rose, 10 years past, MVP Derrick Rose can only take you so far, and with Julius Randle being as bad as he was, I mean, you just kind of had to live with it at that point. But you mentioned, Pat, they do need a point guard, and I think they need another. I mean, but obviously, Julius and RJ Barrett, their developments were big this year. So I think, that's the silver lining of this season.
RJ did hit some really key shots in the series. And I mean, like they still lost, but RJ Barrett, that growth is what you want to see in a second year, third year player. And Trae Young, third year, took that leap.
Yeah, Alfred Payne was the starter, but like he played like 2 minutes a game. And then he just stopped starting. So they really did. Yeah. They just really need a point guard. But
I was wondering what the deal was with that because I would see him check in and then check right back out. And I'm like, yo, what is Alfred Payton? Is he playing?
I don't know what to think with that one, but I think Capella, the trade for Capella was perfect for them because John Collins can't play the 5. He's proven that before. So like sliding Capella in there to play the 5 has really helped them defensively, and they're actually like a pretty good defensive team now.
Speaking of defense, I thought the Knicks were going to be better on defense, which was another thing that kind of was a little lackluster in this series. Like, again, I remember you guys were talking about like how the Knicks defense might be what helps them get past, makes them like, I guess, like a formidable opponent in the playoffs, but they just didn't really show up. So, I mean, I'm still optimistic about the Knicks. I mean, they surpassed everyone's expectations this year, and yeah, they still got young players. They got cap room, and maybe that they proved that they're functional. They might be able to attract a star now.
They finished 4th, and congratulations. Speaking of which, to Tom Thibodeau, Coach of the Year. Like they finished 4th, and for Knicks fans, 4th is like finishing number 1, and so so I think they played a great season. But you're right, like the defense that we saw in the season, they didn't bring to the playoffs, and I think that's ultimately why Atlanta shut them down.
Yeah, I just think like I think their defense it obviously could improve a lot, but I mean when you have those cold stretches that their offense did, I mean you can't really you can't really like do much about it. But I mean they definitely have something to grow on. You wanted to see strides from RJ Barrett, and you did, and then Julius turned into a major player. So they definitely have something to build on, and they have the cap space and all that available to do that. And hopefully they can add someone big.
Yeah, for a team that was a joke to start the year, they look great.
They finished pretty
happy
strong.
for them. Yeah, happy for them.
Yeah.
There's some progression, from where they were 2 years ago, even like they've
and that's all
better.
you really want as like a fan, as a player, as a team, is progression. Like you want to see that growth. And the sad thing is we can't get it in our hometown. Like the Kings refuse to grow.
Well,
They
if the
stunted
Knicks
their own growth.
If the Knicks
Yes.
sign another 4 this summer, we can retract all their growth statements, but that's yet to be seen.
I think they're picking up a guard. I don't know who's free this summer, so we'll have to see who's free, or even now who decides to tweet something wrong and ends up getting fined for it.
DeRozan.
Honestly,
I think DeRozan makes sense for them. I think
honestly, I
Lowry.
can see it.
Oh, the Lonzo
Lowry.
still hot?
Lowry would be a better fit just because of the experience.
I
With
think
Lonzo,
He could get him out of the first round.
I
Are the
think
Lonzo rumors still hot or not?
yeah, it was. I think the last rumor I saw, it was Lowry, Ball, or Schroeder. Those are the 3 guards that they were going to go after. Like they wanted to get one of those 3. So
if you're talking ball movement and you need your point guard to actually score points to put you over that hill,
Lonzo.
I'm taking Schroeder. Ball movement, hands down, Lonzo. But Schroeder can get to the rim like whenever he wants.
I know this
Whether
is
he makes
prime
is a different
Lowry,
story.
but I think Lowry's the perfect fit for them. Plays defense, distributes, can still kind of score. I think he's perfect for them. But
Yeah, he's a very well-rounded player, and the well-rounded players don't get that much attention, which is weird.
And I don't want to say he's CP3, because obviously CP3 is
That's exactly who I was thinking was Chris Paul, but that's the closest association. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Like
that closest association of Chris Paul is Raymond Felton, but he's a close second.
I think Kyle Lowry does make a good fit for them, and that totally makes sense, Mike.
So if we're done talking with that one, we can now move on to our Western Conference with our 1 versus 8, the Grizzlies versus the Jazz, and it was Jazz in 5, right?
Yep.
So
yeah, the Grizzlies showed out though.
They did. Ja showed out specifically. Like same thing. I love the young guys coming in and like taking over the game because they know it's their turn. And Ja Morant, Trae Young, RJ Barrett, all guys like first rounders who have something to prove. Oh my God, stop.
He's got so many. It's actually amazing.
Like I try to find them for Bulls jerseys, but I can't find them. I don't know how you do it, Omar. I really don't.
Donovan Mitchell is never. Oh my god.
Yeah, but what you're saying, Josh, like
the-
Ja Morant's awesome. He's so
yes,
freaking cool.
The young guys got the game, and that's all I really want from young talent. Is like I said, I want to see that growth. And in Ja Morant's case, he will attack the rim on anybody. He wanted to dunk on Rudy Gobert so bad that he did it like 3 or 4 times a game, and Rudy Gobert was like, "Nah, you can't do that." So Ja Morant will go at anybody, and that kind of talent doesn't come that often. And so when you see it from the young guys who are going to play for another 15 years, like, I get excited. I'm sorry. I love it.
Yeah, and I think the future is really bright for them. Like,
Yes.
Jaren Jackson didn't play well this series, but he hadn't really played all year. So he was clearly not in rhythm. He couldn't really make any threes. Like,
He's been injured.
yeah, I think he's dealing with a knee problem for most of the
Yeah.
year. So hopefully he bounces back next year. But I think their core, though, is if they can keep this core together, it's a really solid group.
Shout out Dylan
Also,
Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
Dylan
shout out
Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. Absolutely.
Conference of Champions.
Absolutely. Dylan Brooks showed out.
Great season, man. Also, yeah, he had a great series. So,
He needs
Like
to
I
cut
said-
back on those fouls. He averaged like
That-
what, 4
Yeah.
over the course of the year? If he could just get out of foul trouble, he's gonna be a great player.
I think out of the 5 games, he fouled out twice. Like, like I think, yes, if he could get over those fouls, he's an amazing player on defense. Like, the way he was staying in front of guys with his hands up, like, love it. But those fouls are what was hurting the team overall.
And I think D'Anthony Melton, I'm hoping he can take a leap because I think he's got the ability to be a solid 2 running mate with Ja. And I really hope he just can put it together next year. He had the flash in like game 5 or whatever. He went off like 20 in the third, whatever it was. I just really want him to take a step in the right direction.
I didn't like his run a lot of like they didn't really give him much, but at the same time he's still really young. So, he as you said, Michael, I think he has the potential to at the very least be a solid bench scorer for the Grizzlies, like at the very worst, right? Like he could be a starter, obviously, but at the very worst be like a solid bench scorer. But yeah, going back to that series, Ja, man, he's one of my favorites to watch as well. I think I like Ja a lot in terms of like how he just carries himself and as the player he is on the court. I do think the next step for him is getting that jump shot because I thought a lot of when you saw him against the Warriors or against the Spurs a lot, like in this playing games against the Warriors, Spurs, or even against the Jazz, they played him a lot in drop coverage. So like they were basically like daring him to shoot. And I thought that if he can get that at least mid-range or 3 going a little bit, because I mean he caught fire that game against the Warriors, right? Like he was going crazy.
Yeah, he hit like 4 out of 6.
Yeah, so like his jump shot comes and goes, but if he can develop that mid-range / 3-point shot, he's gonna be really hard to stop because even then, even now that they're playing him in drop, he still gets to the rim pretty frequently. So imagine if he has that potential to like, you don't know if he can burn you with a jump shot or he can burn you to the rim, right? If you have that running through the defender's mind, he can elevate his game even more. But I just like what I saw from him. And in terms of the Grizzlies, Jaren Jackson only played like 15 games, whatever this year. So like he didn't really play much, but I still love Jaren Jackson and his potential. Although he has a really weird shooting form, I think he has his ability to do that and possibly sometimes even play the 5 if necessary. I'm excited for him. So I don't know. I like the Grizzlies. I think they have obviously it's not, a free agent destination. But they have some pieces there to work with. And they've shown, as I've said last time, they've shown the ability to get these, these under the radar picks and stuff like that. So like Dylan Brooks, they've shown the ability to get players like that. So I don't know. They're interesting. They're an interesting team. And yeah, I like what I saw from them.
The scouting department just goes ham. As for the Jazz, I think Donovan Mitchell's really shown himself that he's a legit playoff performer. I mean, I think he's averaging like 25 points per game in his playoff career, which is insanely good. He was also really good in the bubble, and he's showed that he's great. I love Donovan Mitchell. He's one of my favorite young players right now.
Yeah, he really showed out. And I just think the Jazz as a whole, as a team, like their ball movement is incredible. Like they're like it doesn't change from the starters to the bench, and I think that's the biggest asset that they have. Bogdanovich can come in and just drop whatever. Joe Ingles could come in and drop 20 on any given night. Clarkson, they have the pieces there. I really like them going forward. As much as I hate to say that because I just hate Rudy Gobert, but I like them going forward.
You just gotta
They're
stay hot.
they got it. Yeah, that's the thing. Like I've mentioned before of like jump shooting teams. It's like you're bound to have those games where you're off, especially when the pressure gets high. But I mean, for a team like that, it seems like they thrive off home court advantage, especially since they have an actual home court advantage. Since they like the majority of their arena is actually like there, so they have that home court advantage. So I don't know. They're an interesting team to look for, but the Grizzlies are obviously a up and coming team, but the Jazz just overpowered them.
You
It
want to
was an
move on
interesting
to
series. I don't mind Rudy Gobert. Sorry, I'm just gonna say this real quick. I don't
You're
mind
good.
Rudy Gobert because dude is like a defensive monster. And so the fact that Ja was able to even get to the hole at all is amazing. So I love Ja Morant because the potential that he shows even now.
Yeah. Rudy Gobert is a pretty good two-time defensive player of the year. Rudy Gobert.
I know,
Omar.
like put some respect on his name. Like, no.
So if you guys don't have anything else to add to that, I mean, we could move on to the next one, which was the 2 versus 7. Oh, I'm going blank on this. I'm sorry, guys. What was it the Nuggets or am I tripping?
No. It's the Suns versus the Lakers.
Oh,
Yeah, 2 to 7.
Omar.
I thought that
Where's
was
my
three
I've
money,
been waiting
six.
for
bro?
this one.
Yo, Omar, where's my
Oh
money,
yeah,
bro?
I was gonna DM you, Josh. I already sent it to Michael, so I'll send you. I'll DM you after the show.
Sounds like a plan.
But yeah, I mean, what can you expect? A scrappy 7 seed team. Like you don't you don't really expect much. 2 versus 7. It's
Now I can say y'all were underdogs.
okay. Like I'll say this. Obviously disappointed and sad. I was, it's been a rough couple days. Still haven't, processed that the season's over. But I think when I look at like the scope of the whole thing, my biggest thing is just frustrated that I didn't get to see this team at full strength. Like that, like throughout the whole year. I think it's the main thing. The main thing that I feel is frustrated because I thought the games they did play, in the beginning of the year, AD still wasn't 100. He was still like getting into shape and stuff like that. But they look good. I mean, Schroeder looked good. LeBron looked like extra step, like bounce as well. He didn't look the same after his ankle injury. Like he picked and chose his spots, but he wasn't really there all there. But yeah, like I said, whether it was one thing or another, we just never seemed to get healthy. And yeah, I mean that AD injury. I mean we're up. What was it, 12 in the second quarter of Game 4? Up 2-1 in the series, and then AD goes out. Yeah, I think that was it. It just kind of like summed up our whole year. You don't really Schroeder. Like I said, I think he'll be back, and I hope he is back. But he didn't look good after he got the COVID. I assume he got COVID. Honestly, I think he got COVID. So he didn't look the same after that. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's just more frustration of I didn't get to see this team at full strength because I feel like it could have been really special.
Yeah, that's a product again of the shortest offseason in history. And it's really unfortunate because they did just get hit with the injury bug all year.
And some years are just like that. Unfortunately, this year it just happened to be the Lakers.
I mean, it's any team that Omar was rooting for, really.
Yeah,
I mean, Cowboys.
For real.
Cowboys, Dodgers. I mean, yeah, I gotta say that I do pity the Lakers for just having that. That's just
you don't need to pity the Lakers.
I mean, maybe not the fans, but I think the team you should probably you could at least
team absolutely. The fans not so much.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think we also have to give the Suns some credit for that because I mean, DeAndre Ayton played well. I mean, Devin Booker was lights out. Like both game 5 and 6, the way he came out shooting, he was not gonna let that happen. He just got them out to such big leads. Really made it where the Lakers had to come back from behind. And oh my God, if you can't beat
Oh
them,
my God.
I mean, if they beat you, you want them on your team or something. I don't know. But
That's
I mean,
actually the case. Like anytime the Lakers get beat by anybody, they're like, "Oh, he should be a Laker."
they got the money to do it too. So
They gotta get rid of Kyle Kuzma.
I mean,
Honestly, I was thinking Kyle Kuzma could come to the Spurs. Like, no lie, Pop would whip him into shape, and he would force him to slow down.
all I'm gonna say, Josh, is that your saltiness and Greg Pop's just disdain for the Lakers ended you up with DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl when you could have had Lonzo, Ingram, and Kuzma. Just saying, but yeah.
I think that Jakob Poeltl is going to be Defensive Player of the Year in the next 5 years.
You don't even believe that.
Bet.
You don't even believe that.
Bet.
No.
Bet.
No one believes that. No one actually believes that. Yeah.
You're like
Bet. I swear to you.
You're fighting tears behind the screen. I already know. Like, you don't even believe that, Josh. Come on. That's absurd. Jakob Poeltl is literally the same player he was right now that he was when he joined the Spurs. Like, he's a decent player. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an NBA player, he's a good player, but when you're telling me you would have rather had DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl over Lonzo, the potential of Lonzo, Ingram, and Kuzma under Greg Pop, like, come on.
If I let go of Jakob Poeltl, who do I get instead? Because I still want DeMar.
For what? Why would you want DeMar? You guys, like, they did nothing.
DeMar, when he actually attacks, is pretty close to Westbrook status.
When
he actually attacked.
If you tell me, would you rather have Lonzo, Ingram, and Kuzma for the future, or DeMar DeRozan, which you already know what he is, and Jakob Poeltl, whose potential is pretty limited? Like, which one are you taking?
Yeah, I'm taking Ingram, Kuz. Yeah, I can't lie about that. Yes.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, but yeah, going back to the series, the Suns, like, don't get me wrong. Like, when I say that I'm frustrated with the fact they didn't get, like, the Suns still had to go out there and win those games, right? Like, they still had to go out there and shoot lights out in
injured Chris Paul.
Yeah, Chris Paul was not hurt. He looked good in from game 4, 5, and 6. He looked good. Honestly.
Yeah, I think it was really just.
I know I'm talking like game 1 when it initially happened, and then game 2 where he was like, I don't know if I'm going to play, and he ended up playing, and then game 3.
He was still kind of bad.
Yeah, 3 it looked like he was still a little iffy. So I think for them to come back. Also, shout out Devin Booker. Like, Devin Booker, when Chris Paul was out, like, carried that team over that hump to beat y'all.
Shout out Campaign though. Like, without him, I don't think they win the series at all. Because
I agree. Shout out Campaign.
The former Bull Campaign.
Because, like, honestly, like, if they didn't have him, who was the next option? Like Javon Carter, right? Like, and he gives you
it's not good.
Man. So had they not had that offensive production from Campaign, like, who knows what this series could have been? Like, even with AD getting hurt, and let's say AD still gets hurt in game 4, series maybe goes 5, right? Like for the Lakers, like, because they, like, you can't underestimate, especially in game 1 and like in game 1 and game 4, he was just lights out shooting. So without him, I don't know what the Suns do. Obviously you still have Devin Booker, right? But if you're telling me that Chris Paul's banged up and he gives you nothing on the offensive end, and then Campaign comes in and gives you 20, like, that's huge. That's huge.
I think my one concern and why I think they won't make it to the finals is just the bench is rough. Like, outside Cam Johnson and Campaign, like, who they got? They got Frank Kaminsky and Dario Saric coming off the bench. Like, I don't know. That's, especially when you see it, like, we're talking about Utah and they're so deep. Like, it's a big ask to play a team like that.
I just think versus the Lakers, it was a bad matchup. I think we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about it again when we get to the second round preview, but I think the Lakers, with their size, like, you don't really want, Frank Kaminsky out there or Dario Saric, so it's not really a great matchup. But against smaller teams, they might be a little, like, don't get me wrong, they're still not gonna, like, be this huge impact, but they might be better. So yeah, but I mean, like I said, overall, a lot of questions for the Lakers going into the offseason. I said it again. I said it before and I'll say it again. Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, or Dame will be a Laker this summer. One of the three. One of the three. I'm just saying it, just putting it out there.
That trade package you put for Zach LaVine is never going to happen.
I was gonna say Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine, and who?
Dame time. Dame time.
I would say if anybody, Zach LaVine.
I think Zach LaVine. If you look at all of those, Zach LaVine is the likeliest. Because
And that's yes.
Because
Dame, now that he has like say over who gets to be coach,
well,
he's not moving.
Actually, no. I saw today that he's not going to have input on that.
Besides what they put in the media, he will have an input. Their star player always gets an input.
I think when you look at the Lakers, Zach LaVine is the one that like I look at because he's going to be a free agent next year, and if he doesn't want to sign that extension, then maybe the Bulls might look to move him. Not sure, but maybe.
I like Zach LaVine for
life. Bull for life. No, this ain't happening.
I would love that because Zach LaVine would be the last of the last franchise players. I would love that.
I will say, that's a fire. I like that jersey. That jersey's clean. That I like that. Like the Bulls color scheme is clean. I like that. I need to get myself one of those Jordan like the '90s jerseys. But I think in terms of realistic packages, what I would love to see is I mentioned it for the Celtics, but if they can swing a package for Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner, I'm just saying Miles Turner is the perfect center next to AD. And Malcolm Brogdon gives you what you need from the point guard position, right? And
how many of those centers you currently have are on contract next year?
I want to say Montrez has a player option, and Mark, he's technically under contract, but he's only under contract because the GOAT Pelinka set it up like they were near the hard cap. So like he set it up in a way so like they could get him under the hard cap. So technically they could let him go, but they could keep him if they really wanted to. But yeah, praying
I'm keeping Montrez, honestly.
Yeah,
I'm keeping Montrez.
Because as much as he didn't play in the playoffs, as much as Montrez didn't play in the playoffs, I do think that in the regular season, he provided that extra.
He'll help you win more games.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when AD and LeBron were out, they needed that scoring like really bad, and he provided that. Like he can drop 20 on any given night. So I think in terms of like he can win you some games, and maybe let's say hopefully we're healthy next year and AD doesn't have it or Bron doesn't have it. Montrez can come in and drop 20, right? Who knows? So I would keep him, but I would keep probably. I want to say if you don't get Miles Turner, which I probably like doubt, unless I don't know what the Pacers are going to do because the Pacers are kind of like in the middle there. Like they're not good and they're not bad. But depending on what they want to do, I would say look into that. If not, keep Gasol. But Andre Drummond, you guys know my disdain for Andre Drummond. I hope that man has a great career in Sacramento or wherever.
I don't know your disdain. What's your beef with Andre Drummond?
I hate Andre Drummond.
Just his Twitter, man.
He's a terrible player. He's awful. Andre Drummond is a terrible fit next.
See, my only beef with him is he's just slow. And slow players don't get back up the court fast enough. And so it's always like a 5-on-4.
It's that Drummond didn't understand his role on the team. He thought he was playing on Detroit or whatever. He gets all the touches.
The amount of post-ups he got is just infuriating.
And he was missing a lot of them too.
Point guard Drummond was the best meme that I've seen from Lakers Twitter.
Oh yeah, that stretch where it was Drummond just taking all the shots in the
post
season.
and then bouncing off the rim. Yeah, never mind. I see it.
Look, Josh, you mentioned he's slow, not just physically. I'll
stop.
Oh, okay.
If you look at dude, like honestly, like okay, he gets his number. Like the thing is that about Andre Drummond, he's gonna get at least 10 rebounds, right? If you give him 20 minutes, he's gonna get 10 rebounds because it's just like he's just like that. But his def. I remember watching against the Suns, Game 5 and Game 6 specifically when AD was out. Well, no, he didn't play Game 6, but Game 5 specifically, his defensive rotations were so slow that like basically like Cam Payne and Devin Booker were just getting free layups, right? You would have thought they didn't have a center out there.
And that's what I'm saying. Like he's slow, so even when he doesn't get the rebound, he can't get back up the court fast enough to stop them from scoring. And when he's in the paint, he can't clear the other side fast enough to prevent someone from scoring on his opposite side.
And then and another thing is that I think he's the worst center finishing around the rim that I've ever seen. I don't know if I've ever seen a center miss so many layups and dunks like in my
He doesn't
life.
use the backboard enough, and that's the
doesn't
thing.
at
He doesn't
all.
use it at all.
Doesn't use it at all, and it's so infuriating because
And every center I've seen that's like effective in the paint uses the backboard.
that's completely correct, and that's why I'm saying I only watched him for half a season, and if I have to go through another season of that, I don't know if I could, honestly.
The good thing is the Lakers have enough bigs to where they could probably move him.
They didn't even need him. Oh,
They
my
didn't.
God.
They just added him as a precaution.
I was literally on board of I'd rather get a wing / guard, scoring guard, which is exactly what they needed in the playoffs when it came down to it. I was like, I'd rather that over Drummond. And then people were just like, oh, Marc Gasol is slow. And I'm like, but that's not his game, like his game isn't, he's this athletic guy, right? Like but yeah, anyways, I think, like I said, overall frustrated, but I'm hopeful for next year. Hopefully they're going to have from June until October. So they're going to have a full rest and, catch me at the theaters watching Space Jam 2.
Amen to that.
Lakers 2022 champs.
Stop.
Gotta get them all in the books. Our next series was the Nuggets versus the Trailblazers, which the Nuggets won in 6, I believe.
I was gonna say I was really surprised by that one. This was the one I was really surprised by because I did not think that Nurkic would be able to hang with Jokic. And in some games, I mean, look, no. So in some games, he was there, but he just wasn't effective. And when I say effective, I mean like he's just a body in the way of Jokic, which forces Jokic to adjust. And Jokic couldn't adjust fast enough where he would either pick up a foul or he would cause a turnover. So I think that Denver winning it is like the ultimate outcome because we all knew who was going to win this. But Dame taking it to double overtime, and I think there was a lot there that shows sparks of what this series could have been if it gone to a game 7.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a little ridiculous, though, that in that game he took him to double overtime. I don't think he had a shot in the last 2 minutes of that game.
because they knew what to do after that. They'd watched him all game, just run around and pull up.
I don't even think he touched the ball. I think, honestly, it was literally like just CP3, or not, CJ McCollum. And I think also Robert Covington had a really bad missed dunk, where he was right in front of
He had like 2.
He had two
really bad missed dunks.
It's just like, oh my goodness, that was the most frustrating part for me. I mean, at that point, it's just like he's cooking. I don't care who's guarding.
We all saw the problems in Portland now. Like we know what the problem in Portland is now.
We've been knowing.
Oh yeah,
I know, but when you pay CJ McCollum $40 million, you expect some sort of production.
Well, yeah, that's the problem. The 2 guys who are supposed to help him out just disappear at times. Like McCollum and Nurkic just disappear, and and then it's just Dame's got to drop whatever 60, whatever he dropped that game just to get close.
It was
it's
55.
Just
it was 55.
Like that. But it shouldn't. Yeah, you're right. It shouldn't have to be that way. CJ should be dropping 30. Nurkic should be getting you 20, just to help. That's what they need them to do because they're so bad defensively.
Yeah, and I think overall the series, the Nuggets did a great job of just their bench or just their other guys aside from Jokic, because the Blazers, interestingly enough, didn't double Jokic a lot. For good reason, honestly, because you can't really double Jokic because he's 7 feet and he'll just pass over you. He'll find an open guy. So I get Jokic is gonna get his, but man, they're everyone else stepped up. Aaron Gordon made big shots. Austin Rivers.
Austin Rivers.
Monte Morris too.
Monte Morris was the one that was especially in that game 6 in the closing game, he was huge. He was absolutely huge. And man, I like the Nuggets. I really like the Nuggets. And on the Blazers side, if you're getting number 2 money, but you're not a number 2,
something's wrong. Something's wrong.
we've been saying this since. I think honestly, that year that they lost to the Pelicans, that's the year they should have blown it up because you knew CJ McCollum wasn't taking a step up. You knew what Dame was and stuff like that, but they need to do something. Obviously, if you're the correct move, like if you're still wanting to win, is seeing what you can get for CJ. But if you just want to blow it up, I got a option over here. If you just want to blow it up, just got an option. Just putting that out there. I don't know.
I think if anything, Dame would go to the Warriors.
That'd be the most.
And I know that's
ever.
I know that's like very far fetched, but I only say that because he's the type of player that would play for an organization, A, where he knows he could win a championship, and B, it's close enough to his hometown.
Yeah, he's from Oakland. That's no, I think they have to move Draymond. They have to move Draymond, Wiggins.
Everybody but Clay and Steph.
Basically, yeah. And then let go of some draft picks. But yeah, on the Blazers side, like honestly, the Terry Stotts move, it's just
it was time. It was time.
It was time.
9 years.
Yeah.
It was time.
Like he's gotten out coached in so many series, it's crazy. But yeah, I really like the Nuggets, as you guys know. I really like the Nuggets. That game 5 though from Dame,
Unbelievable.
probably one of the best single performances I've ever seen. I want
In
to
a loss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
I
a
want to
lot.
put it up there with LeBron's 51 against the Warriors in that game 1 of the finals. Obviously,
That'd be one of the best losing performances in the playoff history.
I think that's the best. The LeBron one in 51 against the Warriors, just for the fact that you saw what happened the rest of the year when he didn't drop 51. Like the rest of the series, you saw what happened when he didn't drop 51, and just the fact that they were in it. And I just never seen a basketball player that locked in. But Dame, I'd say he moved. That was a top 5 performance. Because watching that game, and just like him pulling up for 3 and just being like, no way he's gonna make this one.
And did you see it go through the net?
Like that was like the whole time I was just jumping. I was like, no way. Like, especially that one he banked in. That was like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are you even supposed to do? Like this, what was it? He stepped forward, turned around, and like stepped back, like a fadeaway. Like, come on, dude. Like that's insane.
That's one of the best shots I've ever I just didn't think that was going in, and then when it went in, it's like you're saying, Omar, you're just going crazy. Like
it was, and then you see Covington missed the dunk, and then CJ stepped out of bounds, and that was the way they ended it. Like, come on. I think overall though that series was really good, and I thought it was very undervalued overall because it was on NBA TV and stuff. But that series was so good. Like if you looked at if you watch the games, that series was really good. Each game was really close.
Who scheduled these on NBA TV? That is a crime.
I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. Like playoff basketball on NBA TV.
Yeah, no, but honestly, like those games were really good. It was 2 pretty even.
And I think a lot of people missed Dame drop that 55 because it was on NBA TV.
And it was on at the same time as the Lakers. So like it was like everyone Lakers were on national TV. It's the Lakers, and then you don't even know that the Blazers are playing on NBA TV. And not even just that, most people don't even have NBA TV. Like
I know, right?
Yeah. I think Kevin Harlan was calling the Lakers game, and then he's like, "Man, it looks like we missed a really good one." I'm like, "Yeah, I think most of the country missed a really good one."
We were just watching the box.
Yeah, because I remember the Lakers game was like a blowout by halftime.
Yeah, it was a blowout, and then they're like, they were stuck watching national televised Laker blowout.
When Dame drops 55 in double OT.
I think we also have to talk about Michael Porter Jr. He's the one you have to look out for if the Nuggets are gonna make a run for the finals.
Yeah.
He has his moments where he's just, I think it was the start of game. Was it game 6 where he was just going absolutely?
He started the game 6 or 7 in game 6.
Yeah, if he has to be consistent, because I don't think he finished that well. Like he finished that game with like 27 despite starting with like 21, and it's like, he's someone you're gonna have to really look out for if the Nuggets are gonna make a run. And I don't know how dependable he is, but we'll see. He's an idol. He's a person you gotta watch.
I don't remember who was commentating that game, but the critique was he just falls in love with the three. I kind of got to agree with that. Like he started high, like he was hitting three, but like he's so much more diverse of his scorer than just a 3-point shooter. He needs to, once he gets the hot hand, he's like, okay, people are going to close out harder on me. I got to go try to do different things.
And the thing is that he's super athletic too, so he really could do it if he wanted to. But he's gonna, like you mentioned, Pat. I think he's gonna be the X factor if they want to get past the Suns. I think the scoring he provides is gonna be huge, especially when Jokic is bound to not have a game where he drops 30 or whatever, right? So he has to step up a lot, and he did in that first half. But I remember it was funny because when he dropped the 20 whatever, like 22 in the first quarter. I saw a tweet that said MPJ is gonna drop 22 in the first quarter, only to drop 30 the whole game. And I was like, it was pretty much right. I was like, wow, that was pretty spot on. But yeah, I don't know. I think I like the Nuggets a lot more than a lot of people do, and we'll see. I mean, we're gonna talk about it soon, but yeah.
Same here, man. I'm a fan of the Nuggets.
Yeah.
Definitely. I guess we'll move on to our last series, the Clippers and the Mavs, which was a 7-game series.
This was
Clippers won.
probably my favorite of this entire first round, mainly because it was a back and forth. Doncic didn't want to let go at any point in time, and even when he's dropping 40, same thing with Dame. Like he needs help, and I think ultimately that plus Kawhi Leonard, like as a Spurs fan, I know Kawhi Leonard firsthand, so I know what he can do. And when you drop 40 in back-to-backs, you clearly want it more than the other guy. And when the other guy doesn't have help, it's hard for them to even stay in the game. So even though this last game, they only won by like 10, which sounds like a lot, but it was a lot more than that. I think the Mavericks need to figure out what to do with Porzingis. And Porzingis can be that guy. We all have seen him be that guy, but he said in a statement today, I think, or sometime over the weekend, that he felt like he's not being used on. I know. He feels like he's not being used as much as he could be compared to Luka Doncic.
And be a better player.
Yeah, be a better player. Like that game 7, they opened and they were basically feeding him shots, and he just wasn't hitting them.
Yeah. And I think that's the spot that he needs to know is either he needs to pull up or pass out. And if you're going to pull up, you better think about the shot before you take it. And what we've seen a lot and what I saw a lot these playoffs is he'll get the ball and then just try to do the pop-up shot over top of somebody. And he doesn't line it up or anything. It's just over the guy. And next thing you know, it's coming off rim. You got to wait for the rebound, but you're already boxed out. So Porzingis has a lot. Stop. Where do you get these, yo? What?
How much time did you dedicate to this today just to like find these?
You know what? Honestly, if you search up any player and then Lakers in Google Images, you're
probably coming up. Yeah.
You're bound to find one. So it's pretty impressive. I'm trying to see how far this could go, and it's going pretty far.
It's pretty far.
I found a Raymond Felton one last time. Remember?
Right. That's deep cuts. I think Porzingis you're right. He needs to either be a better player or they need to figure out who is going to fill that spot for him.
I think, I think just for personal growth for Doncic, I think he needs to learn how to be double teamed better. Because a lot of times they would throw 2 guys at him and he would just do like a bad turnover.
He's got no handle.
I don't know if I think he just I don't know. He just looked like he didn't know what to do a lot of times. Like he admitted like he couldn't find the open man. And like you see guys in this playoff that do know how to handle double, because like Devin Booker's been doubled his entire career. He knows what
I
to
know.
do. You know, you got guy Jokic can't get doubled, right? Like you gotta just learn how to play double team when you're the number one. And if he wants to be that kind of caliber player, he needs to be better at that. I think not even
I
talking
think
about
you can
Porzingis.
develop that.
Yeah, and I think that's gotta be his next step though.
This
Yeah,
series,
he's got a
Oh,
little
go
bit
for
of
it.
everything. No, go ahead, Omar.
Oh, I was just gonna say this series was really entertaining. Obviously, like you mentioned, you guys have already touched all points that he just needs more help. I think the biggest thing he probably needs to work on is conditioning, because he was pretty terrible in each fourth quarter. Even the ones he dropped 40 or the ones he dropped 20, like he looked like he just ran out of gas. Like the jump shot just wasn't there. The driving just wasn't really there either. He's still super young though. Like, come on, like he'll be fine, but he definitely needs to work on conditioning because he didn't look great a lot of the times. And as for Porzingis, I saw something that said that he's the shortest 7'3" guy ever, and that made so much sense to me because you wouldn't know he's 7'3" by the way he plays. He gets like 3 rebounds a game at 7'3". You guys mentioned the Papa shot three that like he literally just catches it and throws it up. Like it doesn't even look like he's kind of aiming. Like I get Curry doing that because he's Curry, but you're Porzingis. Like relax, you know. And he's soft. He's always hurt. And he has like 3 years left on his deal. So
Yeah, they got him for a while.
yeah. So if you're the Mavs, you gotta find a way to just get him out of there. Like even honestly, even if you get like if you don't get a superstar in return, which I don't think you will, obviously, because it's you're not trading a superstar. It'll be a benefit because it'll at least give them some flexibility.
You know
So
who I just thought about?
who?
Andre Drummond. You could get him for cheap.
Please.
And he'd be the perfect fill to grab the board and just pass back out to Doncic.
He'd be
If that's all he does, that'd be great. But we already know that's not all
It's not what he's gonna do. Yeah, I know.
Like honestly, like okay, I'm like that wouldn't be bad. It was crazy how Luka played so much better with Boban out there as his big man than with Porzingis out there. Like Porzingis is just not a fit for Luka. What Luka needs is he needs another either guard or wing type player that can like be his like running mate, and he can cause a lot of havoc with that. And I'm just putting it out there.
I'm gonna need you to respect Tim Hardaway Jr. though.
Oh no, Tim Hardaway Jr.
No, Tim's fine. Yeah.
Like honestly, best players in league history. You got LeBron, Jordan, Tim Hardaway on a contract year. We got all those players like that. We got him up there because he made himself some money. Like he made himself a lot of money these playoffs because he was him. I don't know how many people expected him to be the Mavs' second best player in a 7-game series. Right?
I don't think anybody did because you expect Porzingis to step up.
Yeah, and he didn't. And like, all I'm gonna say is that Kawhi Leonard could be a free agent this year, and I'm just gonna say that he liked. I'm guessing he liked what he saw from Luka. I'll just say that. I'll just put it at that. I would love.
Didn't he like pass PG just to give Kawhi his jersey?
He ended up saying that he gave Luka. I mean, he gave PG his jersey in the back. But what I'm saying is that like, if the Clippers burn out again, and he wants to move, just saying, just putting that out there. But moving on to the Clippers, what I saw, I think this is game. What was it? Was it game 6? Was it game 6?
Game 6, yeah.
Game 6 was probably the best I've ever seen Kawhi play. I think that's the best I've ever seen him play. It was crazy just watching what he was doing on the offensive end and the defensive end too. It was just insane. And when he's on like that, like there's really not much you can do.
But it's insane to look at that roster and say he still needs help though. Because that roster underperforms.
Yeah, for Kawhi to have to score 40 in order to get them that win is.
Yeah.
I mean, when you have PG next to you.
And he didn't even have a bad series. I thought PG was a decent series for him.
Yeah, he actually played well.
Yeah, the thing is that like PG didn't play. He didn't play bad at all. He didn't. I think what was it? Game 6 was the only game he like played like.
Yeah, he had a couple bad plays,
But
and he shot like 3 for 20, whatever. But
aside from that, like he played pretty well. But what was it? Game 6, the Clippers in Game 6 in a like you had a must-win game to get their first bench points in the fourth quarter. That was absurd. Like you can't do that's like you're not gonna win much game. Obviously in Game 7, Terrence Mann stepped up, like players stepped up, but for them, like their bench, they have like some people who can score, but their bench was to be as bad as they were. Like that's why Kawhi had to score 40, right? And they barely squeaked out a win.
I think they're really regretting that Lou Will trade right now, especially seeing that he's playing decent for Atlanta. Like, would you rather have Lou Will or Pat Bev? Clearly not Pat Bev because
Well,
he played himself off the court.
I think they were mainly banking on Kawhi and PG's defense, and Lou Will's defense isn't there. And so if you're going predominantly defense, you keep Patrick Beverly. And if you expect Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to step up, I agree though. But we all knew who Lou Will was, like former sixth man of the year, and so we knew he could score. And moving him to a team that kind of has a chance, like Atlanta, he's going to play his best. And without him, they're just missing that shooting. So it looks like Kawhi has no help, and it does seem like they need someone who can be that off the bench scorer for them.
And the thing is that like Marcus Morris has his games where he looks good, and then he has games where he goes like 0 for 9 from 3, like he did.
Yeah,
like that's the thing. And like, don't get me wrong, that's not a bad. Like it's when he gives you 20 or 25, like it's good. But the thing is that in the games that he gives you nothing, he's out there for 30 minutes minimum. So like for him to give you nothing, that's huge, which is why Kawhi has to drop 40. But I think overall, when going back to the Lou Will thing, Ty Lue has shown that he can make adjustments. And I would feel so much better if he found a way for Luke Kennard to play some minutes in this series. I'm sure he could have found ways to get Lou Will some run. So I think he could have found something. And just props to Ty Lue. He showed out this series. I think his adjustments and his rotate, like he was really good. And that was a big part of it of them winning. He didn't overplay Rondo a lot. Because I think Rondo, he only played like 15 minutes in Game 7. Like he didn't even play that much. So I thought he was going to be a big part of it, but I said it in the chat, it's I don't know, I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but if the Clippers would have had Doc Rivers for this series, I think they would have been out in 4 or 5, like I mentioned. Like they would have, like Doc Rivers he would not have been able to know what to do with this.
I don't know if that's a hot take, but I'll agree with that because Doc has proven that his playbook, his adjustment strategy, his rotation in the playoffs, it doesn't work, especially with the team that he had been using. And so I don't know. I think the Clippers have what it takes to get to the Western Conference Finals. I know, but that is everybody firing on all cylinders.
But
and you don't get that.
It's never been a question of like, do they have what it takes? They have, like, in terms of talent, they have what it takes. They've been having.
Yeah, it's everybody doing a job.
They had it last year. Like they have enough to what it takes. But will Kawhi? How many more games does Kawhi need to score 40 for you to win by less than 10? Right? Like how many games does I don't know what else. Marcus Morris need to drop like 7 threes for you to win. Like these things are good, but I don't know if they're sustainable. That's where I'm getting at.
So if they're knocked out, you just blow it up?
I don't know about blowing it up. I think I don't think Kawhi leaves because he moved on. Like he gave up a great situation in Toronto to go home, and I don't think like he'll be on the move again, right? Because it doesn't really make sense. But I will say that I think the Clippers might explore a move there for Paul George. I think I saw Bleacher Report suggest a trade between the Blazers and the Clippers, like in case they both like. It was before the playoffs, and it was like if they both flame out again. It was CJ, Nurkic, Covington, and I think a first for PG, and I forgot who else. And I was like, that could be something that could work, right? Like that could be
It's
something
doable.
And you got to try something because you can't just keep running it back, right? You can't just keep running it back like that.
Definitely be something to watch out for. Also, yeah, Kawhi's performance was awesome in that game 5 and game 6 and game 7. I don't know if that was the best I've ever seen him perform. I still think that his whole finals performance against the Warriors was really impressive. But again, that 45 came in a huge moment, and it's definitely in there for one of his best. If that's it for the recap, we can now kind of preview the series and get into what the buck is happening, like with the Milwaukee Bucks, with their now probably going down 2-0, right?
Yes,
It's not
now down 2-0.
It's not looking good.
They lost by 39.
39 without Harden.
Yeah, I think that says more about the Nets than it does the Bucks.
Yeah.
The Nets, when they're on, this is what everyone is afraid of.
I was gonna say, are we just kidding ourselves? Like, are the Nets just gonna win? Like, are just gonna sweep through the playoffs? Like, are we? Just are we just?
Yeah, probably.
Are we trying to cope with everything?
Mhm.
That hit me. That hit me on Saturday. Like, are we just trying to cope? Like with the fact that the Nets are just gonna win? Like,
I mean, I thought they had legit weaknesses, but now it's just like this is a
It's
team that
Yeti now.
projected them to have trouble, and they are going through them. Maybe it changes when they play in Milwaukee, but it's like
They played
my question though.
less than 20 games with all three guys, and it looked like it's seamless.
It looks like they've been playing together all 72. But here's my question: is now that the Bucks are down 2-0, they're headed to Milwaukee. Does Giannis leave Milwaukee if they get swept?
He's not a free. He signed that contract.
No, he signed an extension. But that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, any player can go anywhere. It takes a little bit of something, and any player can go anywhere at any moment. And Giannis, this is year number 3.
See, my thing is, I think that team is good. I do really believe that the Bucks have a good team. It's just he ran into the Nets.
Holiday makes sense, but yeah, you're right. It's just a credit to the Nets. The Nets are that dominant, and even without James Harden, who, like we talked about earlier, carried them through the season to get to where they are. Without him, they won by 39 points.
Yeah, I think the Bucks could have really used Bogey if they didn't blow up. Miss that trade.
I was gonna say that. I think Bogdanovich would have been so huge for this team, especially given that a part of that trade, which is DiVincenzo, is not even playing. Right? Obviously, in hindsight, it's different, but he would have been so good for getting that bench, like when Giannis goes to the bench, right? Like to counter the scoring. You guys want to hear some of the plus minuses for today on the Bucks side? All right, Chris Middleton -30, Drew Holiday -27, Giannis -22. The lowest plus minus on the Bucks was actually PJ Tucker with -9. So, and that's the thing. There's a lot we can criticize the Bucks for, and at the same time, the Nets did defend home court, but I have a hard time seeing what the Bucks could do to win 2 games, right? Like I don't know. And the fact that look, game 1, Giannis only played 35 minutes. Like, what are we doing here, right? What are we doing here? Like,
it's that Budenholzer regression.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. He said a quote after the game of we're trying to keep our guys fresh, and then was like, for Cancun, or what are you doing? Like, what are you this is
right? Are you trying to win the series or
trying to keep them fresh?
They needed at least to split these first 2, and they didn't even get close.
Yeah, nowhere near.
When I saw, when I said earlier, when I saw Blake Griffin dunking over Giannis, I think that kind of hit me. Like, I think we're just kidding ourselves here. I think the Nets might just sweep through the the rest of the playoffs, honestly.
Oh yeah, I think if they make it past this round, which they probably will, I don't think the Sixers have a shot, and that's even if the Sixers make it. And I think
Yeah,
the
even if they're healthy.
Hawks definitely don't have a shot because they can't keep up with that. Like
Ice tray.
I think
And
then
if Sixers do make it, they're going to need.
They're going to
everyone.
need like Seth Curry to hit every three he ever made
every
in his
three.
life.
Yes, they're going to need Ben Simmons to like just attack the rim and hope he picks up fouls.
Yeah, Ben Simmons needs to get like 20, 10, and 10 with 4 steals, like stuff like that. It's got to be some Herculean performances, but it's not happening. I think I was optimistic. I remember I called Bucks to make the finals. I was optimistic that the Nets wouldn't do this, but the Nets are going to do this. And
I don't think anyone saw the Nets, like, especially because they hadn't played together this season.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone expected them to come into the postseason and dominate the way they have.
It's horrible, I think, for competitiveness in the league. But I mean, nobody's surprised. It just sucks.
Can you guys finally get on board for Bradley Beal in LA? Can we do that?
No.
This is our only chance. This is the only chance. Come on, can you not imagine Bradley Beal, Anthony Davis, LeBron versus KD? Harden.
You know what we need?
Like
what we need is a competition in the East, and we got to send Bradley Beal to the Chicago Bulls.
No, I say Bradley Beal on the Sixers would be interesting.
I was thinking either Sixers or Boston.
Sixers would be cool.
I think Boston would be cool too. I think in terms of like a team that you want to say that, like, I mean, I still think the Sixers should have traded Ben Simmons for Harden, but that's a topic for another day. Bradley Beal on the Sixers. I mean, you probably have to trade Tobias. Like,
you don't mind that though. Like,
you don't mind that.
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
But what I'm saying is that in terms of scoring, like, because he doesn't give you anything on the defensive side. So like he can drop, like he can score. Like, I just don't really know how much better they would get, because they have to give up Beal, they have to give up Maxey, they have to give up probably Thibault. Like, you're giving up a lot of pieces and picks for a move that might make you a bit better, but is it enough to beat Brooklyn? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm just kind of like I'm iffy on that. So yeah, I think we're just kidding ourselves on Brooklyn here. I think this series might go 5. I was hoping, unless I just see like this random turnaround, this miracle, right? Of like Budenholzer turns into like prime Phil Jackson.
I don't see it.
Yeah, me either. That's why, like, it is what it is, man. I guess that's just the way we cap off this terrible year.
Yeah, let's move on. I think that series is done. There's nothing else to say. Like, maybe if you caught us before the series started, but like right now, I'm like, it's over.
I had a lot to say before the series. I had a lot to say, like the Bucks matchup defensively and stuff, but they just forgot. They got the Lakeritis. They just forgot how to shoot threes. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like now you're headed back to Milwaukee. I mean, you get a chance to defend your home court the same way they did. If you pull out one of these two, you could.
They have to get both.
I'll be optimistic.
They have to get both to even be in it.
I'm being optimistic. Yes, they have to get both.
And then have to win game 5, and then we'll see. But like, that's 3 in a row against this Nets team, and I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't see that happening.
I'm with Michael on this one. They have to win both if they want any chance. And maybe being at home, they will shoot better from 3, right? Because they've been pretty terrible for a team that's been pretty good. They were pretty terrible the first 2 games. So maybe they could shoot better, and maybe they'll sneak out the 2 wins, and then we'll be talking about. See, look, they went 8 for 27 today from 3.
Ooh.
And the Nets, you want to know what the Nets went from 3? 21 for 42. What
50%.
What are you supposed to do? Like, what are you supposed to do with that? Honestly, like what?
That was all Kyrie, I bet.
Like,
they got Joe Harris. Where's my man Joe?
Oh, true.
Is this Timothy Labarou Cabrat slander right here? Like, is that what we're doing here, or what?
Oh, Bruce Brown, whatever his name is. I like these guys. They're good.
If that's it, then go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no. That's it. I was gonna say I don't think anything else can be said about Brooklyn. Like their ball speaks for itself. 39 tonight against the former 2-time defensive player of the year,
Yo, and
2-time
they're
MVP.
talking about being fresh. They're gonna be fresh. Looking at this right now, Kyrie was the highest minutes at 34. Like they're gonna be fine.
Yeah, they relaxing. They on vacation beating beating the Bucks.
Wow. So I guess we're on DEFCON 1 at this point.
Yeah.
And we could go to the other East series, which is the Hawks. They pull out game 1 against the 76ers. Anything you want to talk about there?
I think it looked really bad in the beginning for the Sixers, but I think they figured it out. I think it'll be a really competitive series. Like you look at that fourth quarter, it was like this is what you kind of expected to see out of the series. It was just like that first quarter, like double-digit turnovers. I think in the first quarter, it was just awful.
So you think it was just like a worst case scenario to start?
Yeah, I think it was just like worst case scenario and like best performance the Hawks could do in the first quarter. Defensively, offensively, they played absolutely up to what they should be playing at if they want to win. Sixers in the second half, though, was more what I was expecting to see.
So you don't think the Hawks are sustainable with that? Like you don't?
No, I think it's gonna go 7. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a really good series. I think the Hawks, because like if you look at it, it's like Embiid has to play perfect for the Sixers to win, in my opinion. And like, look, you saw like he dropped like 30. Toby had like 20. I think Ben Simmons even had 20. Like they played well as a team. It's the Hawks, and they have like 9 guys who can shoot.
And I think in the first half it looked pretty bad, but I really liked how they played in the second half. I think they figured some stuff out. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 5 or 6 for the Sixers. I just think, we see that a lot in game ones where maybe a team comes out firing, the other team's not prepared, right? So it could be one of those situations, but I just think it just kind of showed me that like the Sixers are very, very beatable. If you catch them on like maybe a wrong day or something, they're very beatable. So yeah, I don't know. I think like I said, 5 or 6. But the Hawks, they've definitely impressed me with the fact that like you could tell Trae Young is ready for this. You could tell that the Hawks front office has done a lot to get him some players that can provide for him. I think the next step is probably getting him another, or maybe developing Cam Reddish. And by the way, I love DeAndre Hunter. Like he's really good. Like like as a defender, and he has so much to develop in the offensive game, but he could be a really good wing down the road. Like he's definitely shown a lot.
I'll agree with that. I think Trae Young, obviously, I'm real hyped about the young guys. If Joel stays healthy, I feel like Sixers pull it out. But end of the day, I feel like Sixers win the series at a game 7. It's going to be really exciting to watch just because you'll get to see more of what we know the Sixers can be and more of what Trae Young can do in the playoffs. And so from those two perspectives, I think it's going to be an exciting series, but I do think the Sixers pull it in 7.
Yeah, I'm with Omar. I think someone on the Hawks, I think the Hawks in terms of their front office constructed as good of a team as they could have without having to go and get a superstar.
Yeah.
And it's just really up to like, will one of these guys develop, or do they take a swing and send some of these young guys to get that superstar? I think that's really the next step they got to go.
Yeah, I mean, like they definitely have the potential, and I think Trae Young, they need to either develop or possibly get another superstar. But I really like what Atlanta like. It seems like they kind of got their head coach with Nate McMillan. He seems like a pretty good, solid head coach, and the players actually like him. Not unlike the other head coach they had, they just hated Lloyd Pierce. But yeah, I think honestly, like I think the series will be good. It'll be close because the Hawks are not like a walkover. But I still think the Sixers. My prediction would probably be Sixers and 6. I'll say that.
Interesting. I think I agree with that too. I think it's probably gonna be Sixers and 6. But they're definitely vulnerable. Like Michael was saying, like if they have these moments where it's like, where just the other team like gets off to a hot start and they play a little sloppy, like it could get a little ugly. But here's the hoping that they can maybe be competitive, make this reestablish their dominance and give us some more hope for when they play the Nets.
I don't know about hope, but
I don't know if you just heard us talk about the Nets. I think the hope is gone.
I just want maybe get some of it back, even if it's a little bit. I don't know.
Man, hope is a powerful thing. I'll say that. It could be cruel sometimes too. So I think we're going more on the cruel side, if I'm being honest.
Do you think Philly even has a chance?
If they're able, okay. The main thing is if Harden doesn't.
Let's put the last 2 games aside and think about round 1.
Okay.
Round 1 Philly and round 1 Brooklyn. Do you think Philly has a chance?
I think a lot of my prediction on that, I remember thinking, was Embiid has to be dominant. Like Embiid has to destroy their bigs and just go off. And if we'll see, maybe the injury doesn't slow him down that much, but I just don't know.
That's the thing for me. If the Sixers, if specifically Embiid, if he's healthy and he's gonna have to average 35 a game. Like honestly, based on the looks he's gonna get near the rim and the lack of size on the Nets, and I don't think the Nets want to put DeAndre Jordan out there, right? So, or whatever's left of DeAndre Jordan, I don't think they want to put him out there. So yeah, I definitely give them a chance, but it has to do with health on both sides. Can Embiid stay healthy and will Harden play? That's my main thing. Because the Sixers are going to have to make their threes and they have to make their shots if they really want any shot at Brooklyn, and Embiid's going to need to be on point. I just don't. Who knows? Maybe these 2 games are maybe just not really. Maybe it's not a microcosm of what the Bucks. Who knows? Maybe the Bucks Nets can go 7, right? Who really knows? If they just something happens. But
39 without James Harden. That's all I'm going to say.
And they held the Bucks to 86.
And that's what I'm saying. They didn't even break 100.
They didn't even break 90.
Yeah, and the concern was defense. The concern for them was defense. So
we just keep talking ourselves out of it, man.
I know. I'm trying to.
We just talk this out of it.
I'm trying to, but I can't see any other outcome.
I think we've come to terms. I think this is a great session to come to terms with. I think everyone just kind of, as a group, we just accepted fate,
I guess we can move to the West. Maybe something that's not a little bit more ambiguous, I guess. We got the Clippers versus the Jazz as our, one of our matchups. Any thoughts on that matchup?
Always shout out Rudy Gobert.
Two-time defensive player of the year, man.
I know. You better put some respect on his name, Omar. But I think Clippers pull this out. I think Game 7. I think it's going to Game 7. It's going to be an exciting series to watch. But the way the Jazz have been playing, I feel like they have a chance at dethroning these Clippers.
There's no throne. The Jazz.
I know you're right. You're right.
6 is my prediction. I think the Clippers win 2 at home, but I think they got it in 6.
I think Kawhi's got at least another 2 or
Kawhi
3
will get him
40
wins.
plus games.
Yeah, Kawhi
I think
will
he's
get
got
2
3
wins.
in them, and on those other ones you need PG to step up, and that's the whole point. Is you need those other players to step up.
Kawhi will drop 40, but Mitchell will drop 25, and Clarkson will drop 20, and then you're offset.
But that's what I'm saying. PG needs to score at least another 20.
Look, I'll say this. If the Jazz get the Clippers out of here, I will come on to Aggie Talk if we have episodes over the summer, and I will go on a 5-minute apology to Rudy Gobert.
I'm gonna buy you a Rudy Gobert jersey.
I would literally go on a 5-minute monologue of just Rudy Gobert praise. I
gotta do some research. Literally find his whole life story and just praise him for
you can go learn to speak French just so you can apologize to him.
I will learn a sentence of French that is like I'm sorry, Rudy Gobert. Like, even just something simple. Like, I'll go. Like, if they're able to get the Clippers out of here, I'll do that. So you guys got my word. But I think the Clipper hater in me wants to go Jazz in 6 or 7 because I genuinely think that the Jazz are a good team. Like they have a lot. Like they have a lot of shooting. They have the ball movement and their defense is really good, right? But the other part of me, like the realistic part of me, is saying that what's going on with Mike Conley's hamstring, right? He's been a huge part of the Jazz so far this year, and I don't know if the Jazz are good enough to overcome maybe Mike Conley not being at 100%. So that's my concern there. So if I had to like predict something, I'd probably say Clippers in 6. I think Clippers in 6. Aggie talk curse coming, but the Clippers in 6. I think they're really good. I don't know what impact Rudy Gobert is going to have on this series, simply because the Clippers love to play small, right? And if the Clippers get in those zones that they've shown, like I don't know if you guys saw like the close the third quarter yesterday against the Mavs, like they were on fire. Like they were just, everything was clicking on defense, offense. So if you're not making your shots and the Clippers go on those runs with small ball, like I don't really know how much Rudy Gobert can, be effective there. But yeah, I really I think I'm higher on the Jazz now than I was before. I just think that the Clippers, the biggest thing is going to be, can other people not named Kawhi Leonard drop you consistent 20s, right? If you look, I'm looking at Marcus Morris and PG, and that's
what you need. You need that.
You need that, yeah. Because I mean, unless Kawhi's going to average 40 in the series, right? Like then you don't. But I don't think he will, for obvious reasons, because it's like impossible. But PG, like I said, PG didn't play bad in the series. Honestly, like I love to slander PG. It's one of my favorite Twitter pastimes. But
It's so much fun.
yeah, exactly. But he didn't play bad. Like honestly, he played pretty well. Aside from game 6. Like aside from game 6, and then yesterday he didn't shoot particularly well, but he was really good at distributing the basketball. I think he had like almost 10 assists. I want to say he was up there. Like he was good. And that's the thing. I just think he's going to be the X factor there. Can he go off, and can Mitchell be effective and efficient? But if this series goes 7, I'd love to see it. Honestly, I'd love to see it go 7. It would be this. These are two teams that are just like, in terms of star power, I think the Clippers have it. But in terms of overall teams, I think I like what I'm going to see from this series.
I got the Jazz in 6. I think Donovan Mitchell shows up Paul George again. I would love to see a little replay of that. That was one of the coolest moments when he, in his rookie year, when Donovan Mitchell did that. I think we haven't given him enough love. I think he's shown that he shows up in these moments, and I think that he's gonna do it again. I just think with what the Jazz have with their surrounding core, I think they're good enough to win in 6.
And I think this is Mitchell's best opportunity to show the world that he's legit, right? I think even if it's in a loss or a win, because I mean he had those crazy games last year in the playoffs, but then again,
I was gonna say I think we've seen that he's pretty legit.
But then again, he lost. He blew a 3-1 lead. So I think he played.
Same thing. It's not on one player though.
He played out, which is why I think they didn't have Mike Conley last year, right? I want to say.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the big thing. Like, can someone else give him buckets aside from him? But he definitely has the potential. But this is his best chance that he's had to show that he's gonna be that he has next, right? He's part of that star power that has next. And we'll see. I'm excited about this. I think game 1 is tomorrow, Tuesday. So
yes, sir.
I think the Nuggets are gonna play right now. Nuggets Suns.
Yeah, they're playing right now.
Our last series, I guess we could get into that one. Nuggets Suns. What are we looking out for?
Well,
I'm calling Nuggets. That's all I'm saying. I'm calling Nuggets.
I like the Nuggets, and if they were fully healthy, I would have had them to before the Nets thing. I had them to win the title if they were healthy, but I don't. Losing Jamal Murray is such a huge loss because now you have to start Compazzo. And like, no offense to a 30-year-old.
Campazzo been balling though.
No, he's balling, but he's a 30-year-old
Yeah, but he been balling. He looks like he's been in the
5'11"
league for the
point
last like
guard.
10
Yeah,
years.
no, I think he's a solid
He
backup
knows what
point
he's
guard.
doing.
He's a solid backup point guard, but you had Jamal Murray.
I know.
And like to lose
And then
Jamal
you move to
Murray and not
Campazzo.
even have like to a lesser extent Will Barton, like that's a huge scoring loss. I think if they didn't lose those two guys, I had them to win it, but they're not there. And I think the Suns are a good team. I think the Suns will probably win this in 7. I think it will go 7 though.
I like the like I said, I've come around on Jamal Murray. As you guys know, I didn't really like him before because he used to punk Lonzo and Lonzo used to punk him back, so it was a bit of a rivalry there. But I've come around on Jamal Murray, and I would have loved to see the Nuggets. Like if the okay, let's say the Lakers get knocked out round 1 again, and Jamal Murray was healthy, I think I'd probably root for the Nuggets to win it all. Because like they're just like a fun, like I just love watching Jokic. Like he's it's crazy how like he has like he's like Luka if Luka was the center of like he doesn't have this blazing speed, he doesn't have this crazy athleticism, but he always finds a way to get to the rim or find someone open or get his shot. Like it's crazy to watch. Like just watching it like that, it's pretty crazy. But honestly, like I think they're gonna have to find. We mentioned MPJ before, but they're gonna have to find that consistent second scorer. You know, can Aaron Gordon be that, or can Michael Porter Jr. finally be a little bit consistent? I don't know. Because I want to say Nuggets in 7, but I think I'll go Phoenix in 7. I think I'll go Phoenix. I just like CP3 obviously has looked a lot healthier, and I think these days of rest have been huge for him. He hasn't played since Thursday, so it's gonna be huge. So if he can stay healthy, and Devin Booker's just been on fire, and I've had to experience that firsthand. I like the Suns in 7. I think in terms of like, there's not much clarity in the West of like who's gonna go to the finals, like as there is in the East. But I will say, I think the West has the 2 best series in the second round.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Nuggets though. I think Jokic, the MVP, establishes himself even further. I just love watching that guy play. I mean, like Omar said, like he's just so much fun. I mean, he does everything so well on offense. Like I think he's gonna cook Ayton. I mean, the Lakers couldn't really take advantage of that because AD wasn't there for a good chunk of it. He wasn't 100%, but I think like a guy like Jokic is gonna take Ayton to the house. And I think as long as it's kind of a big if, but I think that they're gonna at least have similar production from their backups as they did in the first round, or at least I'm gonna hope so, because if guys like Monte Morris, Michael Porter Jr., and their other guys like just show up and do what they did in the first round, I think they could win this a little bit easier than we may think. But I still expect it to be a good series. Go Nuggets.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think it's going to be a good series, like you said. But man, this is where because Ayton had a super efficient first round. Like it was crazy efficiency. Like the first couple games, he only missed like a combined like 5-6 shots, which was insane. But this is going to be his biggest test. Obviously, you're not going to shut down Jokic, but if you can limit his ability to score, right, or like limit one facet of his game, then maybe you're talking about something. But this is going to be where we're really going to tell, is Ayton legit or not?
I think he'll still be all right offensively. Defensively, I think he's going to get cooked.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, because Jokic can score from anywhere. And those trick shots with the little fadeaway flick up into the air, he hits that consistently.
Off of 1 foot too. Like
1 foot.
You can look right.
And he hits that consistently. So I feel like Nuggets pull this out. I do think it's going to 7. Especially the way that Jay Crowder has been on defense. He's been, I know. Look, whatever beef Jay Crowder got with LeBron, that's between them. But I think that the way he's been on defense, the Nuggets, actually have some trouble. You put him on Jokic, Jokic gets in foul trouble early. And everyone knows when Jokic gets in foul trouble early, they struggle, especially without having Jamal Murray. I mean, there are a lot of factors here, especially for the Suns to even make it past the Lakers, as we all thought. But the way that Denver has been playing, I feel like they pull it out in 7. And as I'm watching the game, and as I say that, Jokic scores. So I feel like Nuggets pull it out in 7, hands down. I will not, however, think and forget about Chris Paul, because I know the CP3 effect, and it can pull you over the top.
Yeah,
Healthy.
It's a great game, man.
Yeah,
healthy CP.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah,
God forbid he stays up.
I wouldn't mind if the Suns won. I want to see CP3, get
I
to
wouldn't
the
either.
finals.
I would love to see him win a championship before retiring, because the way he's looking, he probably only got like 1 or 2 left.
Yeah, so here's to that, man. And here's to, a good second round. I hope we could have Will and, Miles and Bob and get them all back for our next. And I want to do a second recap. So, hopefully they're going to be here for it. And, we're going to be able to talk about some good basketball. So I don't know, unless you guys want to get anything off your chest, we can.
Like final thoughts. My final thought, I was a continuation of last one. Minus the Hawks, I was spot on. There was no upsets except for them. I'm going to stick with that for this one. It's going to be 0 upsets in terms of seeding.
That's fair. I think one of my final thoughts, I hope Joey Crowder shoots 5% from in the series. I wish him nothing but terrible shooting, like when he was on the Cavs. But anyways, I think last round, I want to say I was spot on with like, I think the only ones I got wrong were obviously the Lakers and the Knicks. I chose the Knicks. I was way off on that one. I didn't respect the Hawks as much as I should have, but I got the Clippers spot on. I said Clippers in 7. I was on point with that one. And the Bucks, I chose them in 5, and I chose the Nets in 4. And so, like, if you just switch them around, I think it's pretty spot on. But yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, like, I'm excited about this playoffs. I think, we're getting done with finals, so a lot more time to just kind of enjoy the playoffs without having to worry about that. And finally, I just want to say congratulations, Michael, on graduating. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Oh yeah, Michael, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead. No, it's you,
okay.
Bro.
I just want to say my final thoughts. Just it's been a great series so far. The NBA has been getting a lot of flack just because they didn't give their players enough time to rest, and so the shortened season has made fans feel like they're losing on seeing the best players in the league in the playoffs. And I feel bad because the NBA did what they could, and at the same time, players need rest. So I mean, I get it, but I will say, I think for first round I had the Mavericks pulling it out over the Clippers, and if Kawhi hadn't have been getting so much rest during the season, I feel like it would have gotten done. But Kawhi is like the king of, I need to take a couple of games off here and there because we know we can pull them out without me on the court. So I think same thing. I had the Knicks going over the Hawks. You're right. We just didn't respect the Hawks.
Yeah.
We just didn't respect them. And now I think that's part of the reason why I like Trae Young being that villain, is because he was like, y'all are going to respect us. And they made second round. So other than that, I think I was pretty spot on. Nothing too major except for Omar. I'm sorry, not sorry about your Lakers. I'm sorry, not sorry. As a Spurs fan, I'm not sorry. But I get it. I understand. There was not enough rest for players to be 100%. And because of that, your whole team was never on the floor at one point in time. Sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
Final thought is
Yeah, go for it.
no. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say sometimes everything goes your way and sometimes nothing goes your way. It happens.
Yeah, and that's life. Unfortunately, this year it just wasn't the Lakers' year. And my final thought is, I'll just say, again, pay your college athletes. We'll just leave it there. Pay your college athletes. They need money too.
Facts, man. Facts. I guess I was also really. I think you guys are talking about disrespecting the Hawks. I was the most disrespectful. I said they'd get swept. So I mean, y'all, it's bad. I mean, I might end up on freezing cold takes. You know, if you guys send that to them, it might be that'd be bad. But you know, I guess for my final thought, just gonna try to keep up with more basketball. I wasn't really tuned in with all the series, but you know, gonna definitely take advantage as we're getting closer to the NBA finals and school is like Omar said, we're getting out. We can really just start focusing on that a little bit more. Also, there's a really good soccer match yesterday. I mean, I thought Omar was tweeting about it. I mean, as someone of American and Mexican descent, you know, I'm kind of split on that, you know, feeling good because I want the American team to be good and they've got some fun players, but also, you know, because I'm also half Mexican, I was a little hurt, you know. I mean, maybe it's something to be, you know, it might be a good problem to have, you know, having two teams to root for, but it's a really fun game to watch. And I like when soccer is that it's being played competitively and people are, you know, talking about it and really liking it.
Man, it's gonna be back this summer. We got the Euros, we got the Gold Cup. We're gonna have a lot of international soccer, so it's gonna be good. I had a rough week just to cap it off yesterday. Mexico lost. You know, the refs had to give US that one because they felt bad. So you know, that is what it is.
Yeah, it wasn't a penalty. It was not a penalty.
It was a nice save, though.
Yeah, Mexico's got to make the penalty, man.
Mexico is notorious for being terrible at penalties, so that didn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, I'm Mexican American, but I've always had that love for Mexico. So every time they play, I always root for Mexico, just how I grew up. But yeah, I mean, should be interesting. The summer, well, I feel like there's going to be a lot this summer to talk about, and hopefully we can plan something out for the summer as well if you guys are free. So to keep talking about, you know, more NBA playoffs and everything that's going on.
We might have something going up behind the scenes. I'll let you know once this recording ends. So that's about it. You know how we like to end it, guys.
Go Ags.
Go Ags.